Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 184th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and I'm joined this evening by Tommy Allen, Mr. Andy Patterson, Lowback, Paul Webb, and Seb. We might have a few callers hopefully jumping on later. We were hoping to get Kenny Keith on from the Boxing Rant, but he's unable to come because he's working, so we'll hopefully get him on at another time. But if you do want to come on, give us a shout. We'll email the Gmail link to you, the Hangout link, and you'll be able to jump on. Right, guys, over the weekend there wasn't really much action going on, but we're going to start with that before we jump into the Brook Golovkin chat. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Give me a shout if there's any problems with the streaming or the connection or anything like that. But on Friday night, Andy obviously manned the ship, and we had the discussion about Brook and Golovkin, and a lot of different things were said. I'm going to throw my 2 pence worth in. I'm sure everyone's desperate to hear that. But before we do so, whatever happened over the weekend, we had a few fights, nothing of any real great note. Tomorrow night, Kovalev is fighting Chilemba. I'm not going to be able to see that one live, but I know the guys will be all over it, and we'll be able to preview that later on at the end of the show. But on Saturday night, there were victories for Cesar Juarez, who knocked out Albert Pagara. A little bit of an upset, maybe, that one. Juarez does have a few losses on his record, never been stopped, though. He obviously had the fight with Nonito Donaire. I was a little bit blinded by the unbeaten record of Pagara, and I actually picked him in the prediction league to win, and he let me down, unfortunately. But other than that, there was Mr. Just having a look on BoxRec now. Where are we? There was Jesse Roman, I think it was. He got defeated by Eddie Ramirez. That was the other fight as well on our prediction league. Andy, I believe you have seen the Ramirez fight, or was it the Pagara fight? I'm getting a bit mixed up. But whichever one you watched, do you want to jump in and tell us exactly what you saw?
Ramirez fight, mate, against Roman. I think, well, as I said, I had planned to kind of tune into the kind of UFC card, but I had it on the background when I seen the boxing come on, so I just thought, I had to kind of prove that I was still hardcore, so I stuck it on, just purely because Ramirez Roman was on the prediction league, and I didn't know that Roman actually took the fight on 10 days' notice, but he was taking a bit of a trimming actually. Ramirez was sharp, he was on point, good jab. But he was shipping a lot of left hooks, and I did think at one point that Roman might just bail because he was complaining a couple of times, and I did think there was no chance of winning that fight, even though he was landing a few left hooks. He was never really going to win the fight on points, and there was really not much point in letting him take a beating. You think about after the 8th round, it was kind of probably fair that he actually got pulled out, but no, fair play to the guy. Come the 9th round, he did try to kind of fight back, get back into the fight somewhat, and from selfish reasons, I was glad he finished the fight, but at the same time, I wouldn't have been too surprised if the corner actually stopped it, because there was really no much point in taking too much of a beating if you're actually going to lose the fight, unless he just landed a $1 million punch. It was okay action, I suppose. I did watch about 8 rounds of Mario Barrios against that Davis Bashero. It was pants. I can possibly just basically be polite about it. Pretty poor. That Barrios is quite a tall guy, as you know. Bashero isn't all that tall, so he's kind of like crouching down, trying to kind of like fight at his level basically, and he didn't really kind of get the jab established until kind of later on, or kind of like 3rd round or whatever it was. But it's just lack of action. I switched it off. It was like 4 AM by this point. I went to my bed and I noticed that it went a distance, and I think Bashero got dropped in the 12th round as well. So the winner of that fight, I think, becomes the number 2 spot for the IBF. So I think that's at super featherweight. I forget who holds the title just now at that weight. So. Probably a final eliminator getting called at some point, but yeah, I mean, that's all the boxing that I've seen this weekend. It was pure, shit all round, I suppose.
Yeah, I was just looking down that New Jersey card actually that you were talking about. That was the Ramirez Roman fight, and Barrios. When I heard the name Barrios, it took me back in a few years to Jorge Barrios, the Argentinian. I think he went life and death with Arcelino Freitas at one point. He was some fighter, Barrios. I'm not exactly sure what happened to him, but just thought I'd throw that one in there. There was a win as well at super welterweight for I'm gonna try and get this one right. Zhangzhou Turarov, 18-0, beating Daniel Souza Santos. So he could be possibly one to look out for in the future, and I'll maybe be able to pronounce his name a little bit better. Any other guys, feel free to jump in. Did anybody see anything over the weekend? Anything you enjoyed? Anything on TV? Paul, we don't need 45 minutes on the Warsaw Town Hall, but I mean, whatever takes your fancy. Anything that interested you in particular?
Well, I've not seen any of the PBC stuff because I was out at the aforementioned Warsaw Town Hall show last night. So yeah, I've not seen any of the other action, and obviously it's just a case of waiting for the Kovalev-Chilemba fight. On the Warsaw show, there's only one real fight to note, which was the main event, Lennox Clark. Absolutely iced Dean Gillen inside 2 minutes. They always sit you quite close when you're at the town hall, and the guy got knocked out, and his head hit the canvas. Literally, I could have reached out and touched his head, and he was fast asleep. I've never seen a knockout as brutal that close up before. Certainly, there's been a few. I remember when Chad Gaynor knocked out Adel Anwar, and that was probably the closest to it, but that was on the other side of the ring. But this was literally right in front of my face, and he absolutely drilled him. But no, it was good for a small hall. The usual matches of prospects against journeyman, and Dan Blackwell was fighting for the first time since his brother's injury after his little short-lived retirement, which was good to see him back. And he had a good 4 rounds. And there was quite an interesting, funny fight in the undercard. There was a guy who was Norton 1 against the away fighter who was Norton 3. I know I'd branded it as someone's had to go, and the guy who was Norton 3 absolutely smashed him to bits and knocked him down and stopped him in the second round. So that was quite entertaining. But yeah, it was proper small hall style.
Yeah, talking of big punches.
A short piece on the UFC 200 card, which was sort of eclipsed boxing last night for a lot of combat sports fans. It was pretty shit. So it moved me back to...
Dave, I don't want to hear this shit, man. It sounds like a casual way of talking about UFC. Get that shit to fuck off the show, man.
I'm just saying, I'm moving back to boxing because of how shitty UFC 200 was.
Boxing's fucking terrible just now, mate.
Yeah, I know. That says a lot about how bad UFC 200 was, doesn't it?
For me, Dave, you're going to hurt us in the ratings. So I'm going to have to bring Seb on in a minute to try and pump things back up a bit. Anybody else on the panel see anything over the weekend they want to talk about before we move on?
No, but I'm gutted. I was wanting to pick Warriors in the prediction contest, but I bottled it, man. I'm absolutely gutted about that. I know me and you were talking about it yesterday, Steve, about picking Warriors, and I ended up bottling it, so shame on me.
I bottled it as well, Tommy. I did. I was really tempted to go for Juarez. I thought Pagava's record was a bit suspect, but I just says, oh no, I'll go for him and play it safe. But that's the beauty of the prediction league, man. That's the way it goes. So
I think I should really get the points for that, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you should. We'll introduce a clause on your behalf, Thomas.
It was a good 3-punch combination by Juarez that put him down, but I don't understand why he couldn't get up. And according to an article I read, he was laying on the canvas for like minutes before they took him out on a stretcher. Is he that brittle?
Never seen it. Who's it he's fought again? I know that name for somewhere.
Danair.
That went the distance, that fight, yeah.
That's right, man. Remember they came on late against Danair. He done it, so not too bad.
Right,
Absolute war. But then after that, he went on to lose a split decision to some fairly low-level journeyman, so it was a bit weird.
Right. Anybody else?
Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, if anybody else wants to say anything, then jump in the next 5 seconds. If not, we'll move on to the Brook Golovkin discussion. I'm sure it's going to be very interesting, despite the fact that we had a discussion on Friday. There's been plenty of back and forth on social media and a lot of different opinions and stuff. So speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, guys, right, Brook against Golovkin. We have our Amir Khan coming on. Not that one, Donny, not that one, later on, hopefully. So I'm going to send him the Hangout link. But I'm going to have my 2 pence worth first. And first of all, I'm going to add a disclaimer, a little caveat here before I say anything. If anyone wants to tweet me or give me abuse and say, oh, you're a Hearn fanboy, you're a GGG fanboy, you're a Kell Brook fanboy, you're a this fanboy, you're that, you know what, just don't bother, just save yourself because I'm not interested, okay? I've had a good think about this over the weekend and I've come to my conclusions. And nothing you say is going to change me, and I don't care if I'm a fanboy of anybody. I'm trying to be as objective as possible here. First of all, the Brook Golovkin fight. Now, I know a lot of people have said this, but I was surprised at first. I thought it was one of these jokers who'd photoshopped one of these funny meme things together. I was shocked, but then I suppose I shouldn't have really been that shocked because a while back, Brook actually made noises about wanting to go up and take this fight, but everyone sort of dismissed it, myself included, and said, no, I don't think, he's just saying this on the back of Khan and Canelo. But I mean, fair enough, he took the fight. I don't think it's a great fight. There's problems with it, but at the same time, I don't think it's a terrible fight. I think it's somewhere in the middle, really. And Triple G, in my eyes, is first and foremost, obviously, middleweight. So the ideal scenario for Triple G is to clean up at middleweight. So we have to look at the reasons why he can't do this. You've got Jacobs, you've got Billy Joe Saunders, Andrade, obviously is from the division below, and Canelo. Can he fight any of these guys? No, he can't fight any of these guys. So who are we going to get him in with over the next 2 months? There's an argument to be made that Kell Brook might even be the biggest name on his resume. I mean, other than that, who is it? We're talking David Lemieux, we're talking Curtis Stevens. I mean, it's not a great list to choose from. So out of this remit, out of this scope, where exactly can Triple G go? Now, I mean, fair enough, he can go on up to fight Andre Ward. People are saying he can go up and fight DeGale, he can go and fight Lara, he can go down. You know, is he dragging up Kell Brook? I mean, yeah, maybe he is, but Brook is a decent enough name, really, compared to some of the other guys. I mean, who do we want to see him fighting the likes of a Toriano Johnson or something like that? That's what I'm going to ask people, because
he shot it as well.
The problem is though, Andy, it's because he doesn't fight often enough. Now I know people have made this point. Actually, Brian made this point, and I agree with him. Fighters don't fight often enough. This is an unacceptable fight if you're only having 1, 2, or 3 fights a year at the most. If he was fighting more regularly, like they did back in the old, the sepia tinted era, this wouldn't be a problem. It'd drag him up, it'd give him a beating, he'd take his money and he'd go home, and everyone would be happy. But the fact now that we might not see him for months and months on end after this fight is a problem to me. That is where the Brook fight becomes a problem. Nothing's black and white in boxing, but I'm accepting Eddie's views on the Eubank thing. I'm just going to segue into the Eubank thing, actually, because Eddie's not whiter than white. He has his problems, he talks a lot of shit and all that, but I tend to side with him and his viewpoint on the reason for the Eubank fight not happening. I've listened to him outline all of his things on IFL and all these, and read the interviews that he's done, on World Boxing News and all that. And if the Eubanks were demanding this sort of Al Heyman type control, and what they were asking for pay-per-view, and they wanted the commentators and they wanted the tickets and all, that's Eddie's area. Eubanks a big name, but is he that big enough that he should be sort of, going over into this area and trying to dictate? I think Eddie had an idea that this was going on. This isn't a 48-hour made fight. There's no way HBO and all them are jumping on, in this short notice, and everyone's on board, and he's just rang Brook out the blue, and an hour later it's all sorted. Eddie's had this in his mind now for the last week or so, or whatever. There's been talks, there's been negotiations, there's been discussions. He knew the Eubanks were messing about. It's common knowledge. Frank Warren's been in the game for decades. He says that the Eubanks are some of the most difficult people he's ever had to deal with. Mick has to deal with him. Richard Maynard, everybody's had problems deal with him. Now, I know I'm going on a 10-minute rant, and I said I wasn't going to do this, but I don't care. I'm just going to carry on anyway, right? And so I'm blaming the Eubanks. Let's just get that out of the way. And I have a problem as well. I have a problem with their father and son relationship. Somebody said to me on Twitter, quite respectfully, that Chris has to look out for his son because it's his son, it's his flesh and blood. Well, maybe the issue of father and sons is boxing is a problem. This isn't the time really to get into it and start going on about that. But there is a problem because you're compromised. Managers, promoters, advisors have to look out for their fighter. But when it's a father-son relationship, there's more than that involved. You're making decisions that can be detrimental to the career because you're looking out for your son. And Junior, as well, has to take part of the blame in my eyes because he has to tell his dad at some point and say, look, something has to stop here. I have 2 sons myself, I have a daughter as well, and if I was messing about with their lives like this, I'd expect them to turn around to me and say, you know what, fuck off and leave me alone, man, I need to make some decisions of my own. So I'm blaming Eubank for that. And finally, before I finish, I had something else I was going to say. Regarding the fight itself, I think Brook might do okay for the first few rounds, but at the end of the day, Golovkin's size, his skills, his power is going to tell. He's going to start busting up Brook. This is the guy who was hurt by Senchenko, a guy who had trouble with Carson Jones. And I know that Brook, now we know the reason why Brook had those double chins, That's why he wasn't making the weight or anything, because he knew something like this was on the horizon. But he needs to be training his way up to the weight, not eating his way up to the weight. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to leave it there, Andy, because I don't want to bore everyone to death. Dave Lee, come in and save me. People are sick of listening to my voice here. Tell me exactly what you're thinking. You weren't on here on Friday night. Am I completely out of order here? Am I wrong? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? What do you think?
Just judging the fight itself, I mean, leaving aside the logistics and if it's the best revenue option for Golovkin, the fight itself, for me, is not a solid fight at all. I don't think it's a very good fight. Let's be honest, is there any conceivable or foreseeable way that Brook can win this fight? No. There's nothing that Brook can possibly win with in this fight. So for me, it's a shit fight. It's got that that wow factor, hasn't it? That Canelo did. You know, when it was first announced, you thought to yourself, Jesus, wow, Golovkin, Brook, I could never have seen that in a million years. But then you kind of sit back and think about it and analyze it, and you go, well, it's really not that good a fight, is it? You know, I can't see what Brook has to beat Golovkin with. You know, you mentioned there he's struggled with the likes of Carson Jones. He's was very worryingly wobbled against Sanchenko, and now he's going against probably the sport's most feared puncher. I think that's fair to say. I don't think it bodes well for Brook, and I don't know. I mean, I might be out of order for saying this, but I don't know how much belief Brook is going to be going into the ring with. You know, does he see this fight as kind of like a cash out for him? I just don't think it's a very good fight at all, and it's kind of hard to swallow that there's nobody between the light middleweight division or even the super middleweight division and even middleweights who wouldn't have taken this fight. Now, you're going to get the argument, yeah, this fight probably makes Golovkin the most money, but that's the same argument that, you know, we've heard from Mayweather over the years, and those same people who are defending this fight used to criticize Mayweather for that argument. So we as fans shouldn't really care if it's the best revenue option for Golovkin. We as fans should be demanding the best fight out there possible. Now, in fairness to Golovkin, it's not his fault that the Canelo fight fell apart. We all know the ins and outs regards to that. But there's other fights out there which I think would be more interesting. And, you know, one name I haven't heard being mentioned is Demetrius Andrade. I think, like, I rate Andrade highly. Okay, we talked about him a couple of weeks ago. He's not the most sexiest of names, but I think that's an interesting style matchup for Golovkin. Lara would be the same. You know, again, not very exciting at all, but interesting style matchup. And for me, Brook, it's a foregone conclusion. I don't see what Brook can possibly bring to the table at all, and you can write down on a piece of paper now, Golovkin stops him mid to late, possibly whenever he wants to. But you know, that's just my take on it.
Dave Loback, you've heard Dave's take on
Yes.
it there. He's asking about whether there could be alternative options. If you were to lay out some alternative options, some for this next fight, who would you throw in at us?
Well, like Dave Lee said, I think Andrade has potential to make a really interesting fight with GGG eventually, should he move up to 154. Like I said on Friday, I don't want to hear the excuses about, well, they're with Al Heyman, so of course the fight can't be made. Oh, the Showtime, well, we can't do a dual-site pay-per-view unless it's a massive fight, unless it's a super fight like Mayweather-Pacquiao. Why not? Let's change the sport. Let's encourage fights across the borders to be made. So yeah, I would say take a 154-pounder if all the middleweight names are ducking you. Like Laura called him out. Call Laura's bluff, you know? I think that would be a much more interesting fight than Kell Brook, honestly. I think Golovkin still wins, but
apparently
whatever.
Lara hasn't made enough option. Apparently Lara hasn't made enough noise. Apparently he only makes noises when Golovkin's actually got a fight signed.
Yeah, it seems. I know, but
There's always an excuse, isn't there? There's always a fucking excuse somewhere. It doesn't matter who it's from, or any other fucking fighter, or the fans, or whatever. Like, there's always an excuse from some cunt.
yes, and I mean, in some ways, it is hard to blame Golovkin for taking this because, like, every single person at middleweight is seemingly avoiding him.
There's going to be a middleweight out there somewhere, though, Dave. Come on. There's going to be somebody. I mean, it doesn't have to be a guy who's top 10 or whatever, but there's going to be a middleweight in the world. Someone, somewhere, a middleweight's going to fucking want to fight him.
And he's got to be more aggressive. I mean, yeah, but would you? I think I would rather see Brook than Dominic Wade, honestly. Like, if that's the caliber of middleweight we're talking about, as sad as that is, I would rather see Brook than Dominic Wade. But I mean, Golovkin has to be more aggressive. He's got to be more publicly out there, calling for these fights to be made and calling out these guys who are avoiding him. Like, how does a guy like Billy Joe Saunders get away with a blatantly Billy Joe Saunders, Chris Eubank, Canelo? How do these guys get away with blatantly ducking and then have anybody even showing up for their next fight? It's bullshit. The word has to be out.
Right, Paul. We've had a question come in on Twitter from Supermaster Pro. I'm going to throw this one out to you, actually. It's making the comparisons between Khan and Brook. Obviously, Brook's hung around at welterweight trying to get the Khan fight. It's not happening. But Mr. Supermaster's asking, will Triple G knock out Brook quicker than Canelo knocked out Khan? Where do you stand on that one?
It's possible. I think we have to remember that as much as the Khan-Canelo fight was billed as a bit of a mismatch, Khan was winning. The judges may have seen it differently, but fans that knew were watching that fight that Khan was at least a round ahead before the stoppage came, and it obviously was a very emphatic stoppage. The reason why, the other day when we talked about this, I was a bit more positive than some was because Brook is a legitimate welterweight champion. Khan hadn't really done anything at 147 to make you think he could live with a champion at 147, let alone a champion at 154 or the 155 Canelo division. So I was quite positive. The more I've thought about it, but someone said something about they listed a load of welterweights and 154-pound fighters, and they said, before this fight was announced, would anyone give any of these fighters a chance against Golovkin? And they listed like Thurman and Lara and all those kind of guys. And I read it and went, no. And I thought, well, yeah, Brook's in the same boat. Brook is no better than the guys that were listed. So I think it's down to how Golovkin approaches the fight. I think when he was in against someone like, name blank, who did he unify the division against? I've completely forgotten his name. WBO. Yeah. No, with Golovkin, when he beat the Lemieux, that was the one. Sorry, I couldn't fucking remember his name. I'm total mind fart then. When he fought Lemieux, obviously he was in it against a guy who we could probably have stopped earlier, but he did choose to box and sit behind the jab for the first 6 or 7 rounds. So would he look to do that against Brook? I'm not sure he'd need to. He could probably stop him earlier if he wanted, but I could see this going 4 or 5 rounds, and then I just don't think Brook's got anything to keep Golovkin off him, and we all know the power that he carries. So I think it could be a similar type of stoppage to Khan, and not so much in terms of the emphatic one punch, but I think in terms of the time of the fight.
I'm trying for the life of me here to remember. Oh, it's Tommy. I'm trying to remember who the other person is on the call with us. Tommy, you've got a brand new mic, so people are going to be hearing you loud and clear, in full Scotch, in all your glory, man. You're off Craggy Island now. Tell us what you think. You're not going to troll anybody. You're going to come on.
Listen, let me start off first by saying that I don't really have a problem with the Golovkin and Brook fight. I didn't have a problem with Khan and Canelo either, so all the faggots tweeting me on Twitter saying blah this, blah blah blah. Whenever I slagged the fight, I've not got a problem with it. I'll just go to Golovkin now and touch on it. What I really want to see is Golovkin there has been fighters shamelessly avoided him. That can't really be disputed, but there's also been top class fighters that have said they're willing to get in with him. I'll go and say Andrew Ward, Erislan De Lara, Austin Trout, Demetrius Andrade, James DeGale. Oh, that's 5 fighters. All of them have turned around and says that they'll fight Golovkin, right? Has there been one offer to these guys? There hasn't been. Loeffler's even came out and says flat that they won't fight Lara, so they're saying that they're not going to get any credible opponents. They can't get credible opponents. Well, there's 5 guys right there who've said they'll fight. Has there been an offer made to them? No, there hasn't been. So I was a big Golovkin fan. I championed him for a long time before a lot of people had even heard of him. But with shit like this, man, it's just his fans are like this weird cult who think he can do no wrong. He's turned round and he says he'll fight anybody from 154 to 168, and we've obviously seen, as I say, he has been avoided by certain fighters, especially at middleweight, but there is a lot of fighters out there that are wanting to fight him. I just can't turn my back. I just can't I can't back the guy when there's these guys here that want to fight him, and they're turning around and saying that they flat refuse to fight him. Lara would, any one of these guys who said to fight him would be his most credible opponent, and he's taking all these shit middleweights on instead of guys like this, or even trying to make fights for him. That kind of turns me off him, to be honest.
Turns him off him, Seb. You were
Yeah.
To the forum.
Oh, here it is.
Now Tommy's putting the word
What the fuck was that?
I'm trying to give you a nice intro here. Tommy's putting the word now. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I was going to say I can vouch for
Are
Tommy.
you
He's always been like
proposing-
an original GGG fan as well. So all this shit about how the Nuthouse has gone contrarian, it's a load of bollocks, mate. Like Kurt and Tommy were there way before HBO got involved. They were right there at the start of Golovkin. I can vouch for that.
We repped them. We repped them heavily.
Fucking big time. They were proper fans. They're just pissed off because they're tired of the bullshit. That's all it is. And I don't got nothing to say really about the fucking Kell Brook Golovkin fight. I don't like the fight. I want to see Kell Brook clean out the welterweights first. It's just a shame they're all hiding behind Al Heyman's skirts. They don't want nothing to do with Kell Brook. That's the fucking truth of it. I mean, that's just been exposed. Like it's pretty obvious that Kell Brook ain't fucking scared of a little twat like Queef Thurwoman, because he's fighting fucking Gennady Golovkin. So, you know, it's Queef Thurwoman who's talking about hiding behind his fucking manager and, Al Heyman won't let me fly to the UK and blah, blah, blah. What I want to talk about is there were some issues raised as a result of my appearance on Friday, and I wanted to rebut some of the points that were made. So I'm gonna say, with regard to GGG's chin, Gennady Golovkin, with regard to his chin, all I did was question the extent of its reputation. Like, people talk about it like it's a Hagler or a LaMotta level chin. And the evidence for that is inconclusive at best and slightly negative at worst. It's like it's a reliable chin, perhaps a very good chin, but there isn't really anything tangible to support the notion of a granite chin, unless you just throw that term around liberally. It's like Alex asked me whether Brook can hurt GGG. It's like, define hurt. You're talking about stumbled, put on Queer Street, stunned. Like, Kell's probably not going to put him on Queer Street or anything like that, but he's a big guy at welter and his hands are naturally heavy, so can he carry enough power up to make GGG respect his punch if he eats a chocolate brownie right down the pipe? Yeah, there's a possibility. Like, weirder things have happened. And I saw this guy talking about GGG walks through punches and how can I dare to question his chin in any fucking regard. Look, GGG lets your Monroe Juniors and your Dominic Wades use his face as a speed bag here and there. He's not doing it with the Curtis Stevens and the Lemieux. And that's fair enough. I can understand why he doesn't give them free shots, because those guys can actually crack a bit. It's really the only thing they offer is punching power. But let's not pretend like GGG's walking through torrents of clean shots from guys who can actually punch every fight, because he's fucking not. He's not walking through decent punches. His chin, as we know it, is good to very good. There's no tangible evidence to suggest it's fucking great, granite, teak, Hagler, fucking any of that shit, LaMotta. And on that note, when I suggested GGG should have been taking LePew out much sooner, fucking David Pepe LePew, fucking C-class fucking carnival strongman glorified, right? When I suggested that GGG should have been taking him out much sooner, that wasn't tantamount to saying he should let LePew use his face as a speed bag. LePew is C-class with a fucking punch. The ability differential between him and Golovkin is such that fucking GGG could have gone seek and destroy on LePew without putting himself at excessive risk. And LePew was already sweating it before the sound of the opening bell anyway, so he was fucking nervous and ripe for the taking. So who was who was Gay fucking Lovkin catering for with that performance? Because hardcore fans already knew the guy has a jab and a keen grasp of range. That wasn't fucking news because we saw it already. And the casuals, which is most of GGG's fan base now, they just wanted their fucking Mexican-style street fight. So the answer is he catered to nobody except his fucking faggoty fucking fanboys who worship every fucking thing he does, whether it's good, bad, or fucking mediocre. He could have showcased his skill set with a more explosive strategy, and that's what I was fucking saying, but he preferred a safety-first route. I wasn't fucking saying that he should fucking let LePew smack him in the face and take 3 shots on him, you fucking dickheads. Anyway, look at all the shit Floyd Mayweather got for his conservatism in fights when he could have stepped on the gas. And I'm a Mayweather guy, and I'm critical of him for that in certain cases. So if he can answer to that kind of criticism, as a light puncher and a counter-offensive guy, and a guy who had peaked in weight, then GGG absolutely fucking should answer to the same criticism, because he's a heavy-handed guy, offensive by nature, and he's a career middleweight. Why is he going 8 or 9 rounds with a guy when he could have blown him out in fucking 3 or 4 rounds and given us the exciting show that his reputation is based around? Because manufactured drama shows are fucking crap. They're bollocks. I don't want to see him letting Dominic Wade fucking punch him in the face to fool casuals into thinking it's a fight, because that shit's contrived. That pay-per-view was his chance to make a fucking big fucking impression and leave casuals with a wow factor and the feeling of $45 well spent. And we got safety first where it wasn't even fucking necessary. So that's why I criticised him for fucking going the distance. Not going the distance, for going 8 or 9 rounds with LePew, you fucking dickheads. And that's the last. Oh, yeah, last of the rebuttals. Butte is fucking brittle, you knobs. And that isn't even a secret any longer. And it wasn't a fucking very well-kept secret to begin with. So fucking suck your mums, you pricks. I'm done.
Now the question.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. That was a good one.
Is that a yes then?
Can any of you haters, of which there are many out there, come on? We'll give you the link if you guys want to talk. Come on and rebut without just saying "fuck that wanker."
Yeah, you're right, Dave. You're right.
So talking about when musicians are like, you little fucking peckerheads. You fucking, who's that Cal Zoni guy? Cal fucking Zoni. Fucking, yeah, fucking, like, I'll fucking see you anytime at Glenn's joint, you fucking little cocksucker. Fucking bring it, you little prick. I'll fucking give you a big drama show, you little fucking prick. Fucking bring it.
Well, Dave, as I say to you, mate, I says, look, all you're seeing is comments, get him off the fucking pod, he's fucking this, he's fucking that. Come on the show and speak to him about it. Come on the show and fucking speak to him about it. I mean, there is not one person that I know in this fucking forum or in this podcast who hasn't had a run in with Shep with Seb early years. I've had a run in with Shep. Have I had a fucking beef with you?
We used to fucking beef, mate. We used to beef.
Exactly.
I even rang your fucking house up. I even fucking rang your house up, mate. Do you remember that?
Yeah?
Can you remember that? I think it was your house. I can't remember, man. But we used to beef. We didn't even get on. But we're good pals now, mate. I fucking like you, G. And all these little bitches are getting fucking riled up about nothing.
Don't talk about Wiggers now, man. Then they start talking like a Wigger and call me G and all that sort of stuff.
I don't even fucking like Black Lives Matter. Have you seen my fucking critique on Black Lives Matter? I don't even fucking like the Negroes, for fuck's sake.
Okay.
My language.
Right, get yourself on mute there.
I'm muted.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Everybody take a deep breath. Tommy, are you okay? Is there anything we can get for you?
Pay-per-view time, baby.
Just to remind everybody, if there's any complaints, they get sent to Ben Wiseman Industries.
I was just about to say, don't forget to subscribe or like the Facebook page, but please don't unsubscribe or like the Facebook page. Right, Dave Lee.
Can I just jump in here? Can I just jump in here for 2 seconds and just say that I read an article a long time ago. I can't remember who wrote it, and it said something along the same lines as Zeb saying about him being a B+ fighter, about Golovkin being a B+ fighter. Now, I believe that Golovkin is an A-level fighter, but what I read in this article was it says you can't put him on the A-level because he's only really B-level fighters, isn't he? So if he's a step ahead of the B-level fighters. This guy was saying it was pretty much a B+ fighter as well. Now, I can understand that. As I say, I think he's an A-level fighter, but I can kind of understand that point. That's pretty much what I was wanting to say.
Dave Lee, I believe you were going to jump in. I was going to ask you a question, but carry on.
Yeah, I know. I was just going to elaborate on Tommy's point that he made there a few minutes back. He was talking about like there does seem to be this cult-like following for Golovkin, which is similar to Mayweather a few years ago. But I think a large part of it is I think Golovkin does have some. He does have a lot of backing, without naming any names, of some very influential media figures. In particular, like a lot of those same media figures are in the tank for Tom Loeffler, and they'll never say or print or tweet anything negative or write anything negative about Golovkin, and they'll always spin it in a positive light for Golovkin. And a lot of the yeah, I wasn't going to name any names, but I think you know who I'm referring to. And a lot of the uninitiated will fall for it, and they'll just eat up everything that they'll read from the aforementioned. And I think that's a large part of it as well. So I just wanted to kind of throw that in there.
The whole letter grades for fighters is a little bit arbitrary anyway, because there's no specific criteria, much like the pound for pound list. I mean, there's no even fully accepted criteria to describe and rank these guys. So you pretty much have to. It's very subjective.
Absolutely, pound for pound lists are very arbitrary, and that's why I mentioned there a couple of weeks ago that I don't put any stock into them. Because what hardline criteria are you basing it on? You know, it's just a bit of fun, really, isn't it?
Subjective, isn't it, Dave? It's like pound for pound, B plus or A plus ratings are subjective, and the Ring magazine ratings are subjective.
Well, pound for pound, especially because a lot of these guys are never going to fight in the ring, so of course it's subjective. And what's it really based on? Accomplishments, longevity, talent, potential. It's something there.
Can I just say something? All these kids.
Go ahead.
I mean, some of them you're weary of me already, Steve. I can tell by the tone of your voice. But all these kids, man. All these kids who are fucking high on Golovkin, and half of them are kids. I mean, I look at some of them MVP kids, and half of them are kids, man. I mean, it's like half of them are fucking proper grown-ups, and half of them are like fucking 10 years old. And it's like Tommy and Kurt have been around and fucking repping GGG for fucking way before he was a HBO fucking hype job.
Back in the Germany days, mate. That's what I remember. That. Way back in the Germany days.
These little cocksuckers are like, oh, you're contrarian. You can't say this about GGG. Fuck off, you little pricks. They were there from right at the beginning, like 2008, 2009, 2010.
I used to watch them back in the amateur days.
Yeah, you were watching him in the AMs. But when I fucking first came across you, Tommy, it was the late 2000s, wasn't it? Do you remember?
That's right, mate. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, how are you going to fucking talk about these guys being contrarian when these guys are fucking hardcore followers of the sport who've been around much longer than you? And they're saying we're fucking a little bit fucking pissed off with GG. We're a little bit tired of his shit. So that's all I wanted to interject with. I'll let you go for now.
As I says, man, that's true about his new fans being fucking casuals, right? Now, I've named some of the guys in that I've offered them to fight, man, and is it a coincidence that they're all African American and slick? His fans. The next thing they're going to be saying is, oh, he's not going to fight them because he's in the fucking the Black Lives Matter, the fucking Matter movement, and doesn't want to hurt them, man. It's fucking shocking. He's going to step up and fight. If you look at I'm going to use Amir Khan as an example here. He tried to get a big fight this week. Could they get him? What did they do? Moved up 2 weeks and fucking fought a beast. Triple G seen him fight anybody for 154 to 168. Fucking go up and fight somebody.
See after the carry on. See after the carry on Friday and stuff. I mean, there was a lot of shit going across Twitter and stuff. I forget the name. Someone spoke to me about Kovalev, for instance, and they actually says, well, Kovalev's never really fought anybody. Pascal's washed up. Hopkins is too old and stuff. I'm like, fucking hell. So he should move up to cruiserweight. I'm saying to myself, well, wait a minute. So why the fuck's Kovalev got to step up at 25 pounds? But it's against the rules to fucking have Golovkin step up 8 pounds or even 15 pounds. What the fuck?
Can I say something about Kovalev? I think it's hilarious that GGG's getting sucked off by these guys, when meanwhile you've got Sergei Kovalev, who is, to all intents and purposes, a complete real-life embodiment of what GGG was marketed to us as. And now, right? Yeah, fucking proper, man. Fucking proper. Anywhere, anytime, any fucking place. He's a proper road warrior, and he ain't got the fucking big backing. Yeah, he's on HBO's books, but he ain't had the fucking push that Golovkin's had. I mean, he's the real deal. He's the embodiment of what GGG was marketed as, and he's an afterthought to these fucking GGG fanboy guys. And in fact, some of them are even getting a little bit envious of him now because he's getting a bit too much praise. It's like, it really is a fucking joke. These clowns will take plastic and process over organic produce all fucking day, and it's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing. These little cocksuckers like Calzone, and I can't remember the names of these little dickheads, Nigel or whatever, Ainsley, whatever their names is. They're all butthurt over Golovkin being, it's not even Golovkin being criticized, it's like somebody saying something that ain't, I want to suck Golovkin's cock. It's like, anybody that just slightly puts Golovkin in perspective is the enemy. Fuck off with that shit. Sorry, I'll butt out again.
Andy.
Yeah.
No, you're okay. Andy, there seems to be a bit of going on inevitable on Twitter. Even Adam Etches is getting involved. He's trying to get himself a big fight out of this. A few people have said it'd be quite funny if Eubank ended up on the Brook Golovkin undercard, but there's no way they're going to, have the face to even appear on that. I can't see that happening for a start. But there was a Twitter question from Andy Mina, which was quite interesting. This is trying to get into Eddie's psyche, what Eddie's thinking right now. Andy Mina says, does anyone think after the Triple G fight could Hearn make Brook versus Eubank, creating a feud between them and keeping the fight in? Pretty good point, actually.
I don't know, mate. I really don't know if
Depends if it's in
my outlook on it is this. I know some people maybe not agree, but I don't really give a shit. I'm going away on holiday shortly, so I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. I'm chilling out after this. But Brook, in my opinion, is cashing out. Now, if he gets erased or flatlined or whatever, he's going to earn, roughly £3 million for this fight? Good money. I mean, I'd retire on that. I'd fight Triple G for £3 million, and I fucking mean that. If he broke my jaw, put me in the fucking hospital, whatever, I don't care. I've got £3 million in the bank. And that's what my opinion Brook is after. He's after the cash out. It's balls at the end of the day as well. He's fighting he's meant to be fighting, he's fighting a beast. I'm a Golovkin fan, but at the same time I've got to call a spade when I've had enough of the bullshit. 2016 has almost washed me up this year with fucking boxing, and this is just further indictment of it. I mean, I've got no problem with Golovkin having to go down and weight to fight someone, but didn't fight a fucking welterweight. Now, this is going to end the myth. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but this is going to end the myth as to how small a middleweight that Golovkin is and how big a welterweight that Brook is, because we're going to see, people are saying, I think it was Paul that said that Golovkin and Brook are going to be roughly about the same size. Okay, we'll see it on fucking fight night. I don't think that's going to be the case, but we'll wait and see. But if it gets evaporated...
Andy, will it be a healthy size though? Andy?
Well,
Brook.
he's shredding himself for the weight, you think. I think he's shredding himself to come down to weight. So... I would say if he comes in at roughly about, like, say, like 155 or something like that, if I was Brook, I wouldn't go for the full weight. He's going to try and maintain some sort of speed, because you just don't know, if you've not had a fight up at 160 before, you just don't know how you're going to hold it. And to be honest, Golovkin is a fucking hard puncher. The problem is he's never really kind of laid anyone out cold since, who was that? Was it Ishida? The guy in Monaco. So this could be a prolonged beatdown. It depends how much Kell's willing to take. Now, I think the fight is going to last maybe 6-7 rounds, maybe slightly longer, but as I say, it's going to depend on how much he wants to take. And the other thing is, Brook, as I say, he's there for the money. Golovkin fight £3 million, great stuff. And then if he gets wiped out, he can then start chasing Amir Khan again for an extra $5 million or whatever it is.
One thing I wanted to say is...
That's a good point, Andy, in regards to Golovkin's... sorry, Seb. It's a good point in regards to Golovkin. It's a good point in regards to Golovkin's power, because he's not really a one-punch knockout artist, is he? He's more of an accumulative, heavy-handed puncher where he wears you down with shots. And, of course, that's going to be bad news for Brook as well, because it could be a prolonged beating. And another thing as well, in regards to the weight you mentioned, I've heard a lot of people over the last 24 hours talk about, middleweight versus welterweight. It has been a common fixture throughout the annals of boxing history. That's true to an extent, but it's negated by the fact that these days you have 24-hour weigh-ins, and what's Golovkin going to be come fight night? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the IBF have a rehydration limit, don't they? Is it like 9-10 pounds or something like that?
10 pounds.
10 pounds, is it? But still, what will Brook come in at fight night? I mean, and as you said as well, is it going to be false weight? That's not going to be good for Brook. That's going to make him sluggish. So. It's a lot of things to ponder there, but not good for Brook, I don't think.
Brook's nose goes easy as well, doesn't it? Not easy, but his nose has gone in a few fights actually. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Carson Jones fight.
Oh, he's disappeared. Right, who have we got? Who is still lurking around? Mr. Paul Smith for you on Twitter. By fighting Golovkin, does Brook vacate his IBF belt? I'm sure I heard Hearn mention it previously when ruling out the Liam Smith fight. Yeah, it's interesting to think about what's going to happen to Brook with his welterweight status. I mean, the strange thing is, Paul actually now that I think about it even, sorry I'm adding another question on here, but it's not like he's moving up having cleared out the welterweight division or even, won a belt off somebody else. I mean, he's literally won belt, pretty poor opposition the last 3 fights and moving straight on up, so he's not exactly coming in a blaze of glory, vacating his IBF belt.
Well, they wanted, the fight that was available for him, the Vargas fight, obviously didn't happen because of the money, but Kell Brook will keep his world title regardless of what happens in this fight. so he'll still be the IBF welterweight champion even if he gets knocked out in 10 seconds. That ain't going to change. I think that was part of the risk reward of taking the fight in the first place, was even if he does get beaten, he's always got that to fall back to, and he can always drop back down to 147. But, you know, they tried to make fights for Brook, but he's just not a big enough name over here to attract people over. And obviously, he's not a big enough name over there to be, for the likes of Thurman and that, to want to fight him straight away. Brook wants a big money fight now. He wants to have his retirement sorted out now. He doesn't want to wait till next year or the year after that. He's treaded water with a few fairly pointless defences. Obviously, 2 of the mandatories, which were just complete mismatches. But if he after this fight, obviously we'll probably be in time or getting close to the Errol Spence mandatory, so that'll be a big fight for him if he chooses to take it. But I just think he wants as much money as possible from this fight, and will we see him fight after? I don't know. He's not someone who loves it, and I know a lot of fighters don't.
I agree with that, Paul.
He doesn't enjoy it. I think he does it because it's what he's trained to do. But he's at the minute he's earned good money. He's bought himself a nice house. But he's not earned Khan money. He's not earned close to that. He's not earned Hay money, Froch money. He wants a seriously big check coming his way, and he'll get that. And that's why he's taken a fight which does nothing for his career, because I think he actually does well against, your Thurmans, your Garcias. He has got the opportunity to be the number 1 guy at 147.
Why fight them though? Why fight them, Paul? I mean, because he's dragging himself down in weight. He's stripping himself in weight. He's not going to get the same fucking money. So why does take a big paycheck and get absolutely evaporated?
Exactly. That's it. And like I said, because fighters, we talk about legacy and belts. The legacy in belts is the check to a fighter, as we all know. And like I said, why risk fighting Keith Thurman for £500,000 and you could lose that fight, or you could fight Golovkin for £3 million? And if you do lose it, the Thurman fights, the Khan fights, the Garcias are still on the table. It's just like what Khan did. It's exactly the same as what Khan. It's the same decision that Khan took. Was, well, if I lose this, there are still options. And the difference is Brook is more established than Khan at the weight. He is a real champion, which Khan wasn't. So he's got better options than him if he does have to come back down.
That's why I suspect that this is a cash-out fight for Brook. I could be completely wrong, and if I am, I'll hold my hands up and apologise, because the last thing I want to do is denigrate any professional fighter. But Brook has had what? 36, 37 fights, and he's been in a division over the years which has been laced with talent and big names, and he has one notable victory, which is a semi-disputed win over Sean Porter. And why is that? There has to be a reason for it. You have to kind of question Brook's ambition. And
Can I just say something about that?
Yeah. Go ahead, Seb. Yeah.
It ain't sorry, pardon my language. Everybody's complaining about me swearing on the pod, right? It ain't Kell Brook.
Fuck them.
It ain't Kell Brook who's got an issue. It ain't Kell Brook who's talking about, my manager won't let me fly. Trust me, right? Kell Brook wants to fight everybody. It's not about Kell Brook's ambition. He's been chomping at the bit for a long fucking time. That boy wants to fight, and this proves it. It ain't just a cash-out fight. The kid believes he can actually win. Whether he's, what do you want from the kid? He's supposed to believe in it. Hold on.
I thought you just dropped in and died there, mate. Fuck would be
Is
rejoiced.
he or is he not supposed to believe in himself? So of course he thinks he's going to win.
But they're. I mean, okay. But over the years, I mean, he's been around for how many years?
But look
he's
at
had
it, man.
26.
It's because of the position he's in. I mean, he's a who needs him type of guy. What is he? I mean, there are people who said Kell Brook would never sell a ticket in Sheffield, but even as a Sheffield attraction,
but he's been in mandatory.
Hold on a minute. Let me finish.
Okay, yeah.
Say.
Okay,
even for a long time, even though he's been a ticket seller for a few years in Sheffield, he hasn't been like a major. He hasn't had enough pull to bring guys over, but now he's a title holder. Listen, these shows could be made in England. I know Donny and a couple other guys I used to chat to on the Asylum used to rebut this. I don't think they will now because I think they know better. But these guys used to say that, the shows only make money in the United States. You can't bring the Heyman guys over here because it won't make money. Well, look, fucking Golovkin's coming to the UK to fight Kell Brook. Golovkin's a star in the United States. He sells out in the United States, and yet he's coming over to fight Kell Brook. Kell Brook's not going over to fight Golovkin. So that shows you that these fights can make money in the UK, and Heyman fighters can make just as much money in the UK. They could have been bringing Keith Thurman over at any time if they wanted to do a voluntary with Keith Thurman. If Keith Thurman was game, if Al Heyman was game, they could have done a voluntary with him. No, Keith Thurman's a protected commodity. Kell Brook wants any fight any fight that he can get credit for that's out there. He's been in a fucking shitty position for a long time.
Unpaid.
Hmm?
It says he'll fight anybody, but as long as he gets paid for it.
Well, he would have gotten paid against Keith Thurman.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
he would have
we're
gotten paid, man.
talking $3 million, though, are we? We're not talking £3 million
Yeah,
here.
but I mean, at the same time, it's like, I mean, are we saying that Kell Brook is only taking this fight for the money? Only taking this fight? Are we really saying that about Kell? Are we saying that he's going in there with no ambition and he's just going in there to get knocked out and he ain't gonna try, he ain't gonna do nothing, and he don't believe he can win? Of course he fucking believes he can win, and he's supposed to believe he can win.
Yeah, only he knows that at the end of the day, and of course, I could be completely wrong. I'm just talking about what I suspect.
I've got a little bit.
I mean, okay, it's just let me finish, Seb. Sorry. I mean,
No,
as I said, Brook has had 36. Well, is it 36, 37 fights, something around that area, and he's had one notable win. Now, okay, even allowing for the fact that he's been. Going by what you're saying, he could have found himself in some shitty positions where he's not getting the big fights, but there has to be some onus on him as well. I mean, Ricky Hatton, if you go back a few years, Ricky Hatton found himself in that same position. I mean, he was having 33, 34 fights. He was defending. He made about 40 WBU title defenses, and eventually he got the fucks of it, and he put it up to Warren. He said, "Look, Frank, you get me those big fights, or I'm jumping ship. I'm finding other options." And he got the Kostya fight. Warren got him that Kostya fight.
Well, guess what? Kell Brook just got his Kostya fight, didn't he? Albeit a fucking 160-pound Kostya fight. Let me just say something to you, man. Did Kell Brook or did Kell Brook not go over to Sean Porter's backyard and take a decision in Sean Porter's backyard? It doesn't fucking matter if it was a mandatory. It doesn't fucking matter if it was a mandatory.
Seb, calm yourself. All right, it was a fucking This is Donnie.
It doesn't fucking matter if it was a mandatory, Donnie. Did he or did he not? Everybody gave him shit for supposedly pulling out of the fucking Devin Alexander fight.
He lost the purse bid. Stop trying to give him credit.
What do you mean stop trying to give him credit? What the fuck does that mean? Did he or did he not fucking go over? People fucking attacked him for not turning up to the Alexander fight.
Because
I was at that Alexander fight, or what should have been the Alexander fight. I was actually at that fight, and I was as pissed off as anybody. But did he or did he not fucking cross the water after everybody said? Hold on. After everybody fucking said that he pulled out against Devin Alexander and he didn't want to know and this and that. He went over and fought the guy who beat fucking Devin Alexander in his own backyard, and he fucking took a decision that by rights, the way these things work, he shouldn't have been able to fucking take that decision because it was a close-ish fight. It was an 8-4 kind of fight, and he shouldn't have been able to fucking take that decision, and he still fucking took that decision. You can't talk about Kell Brook having a lack of ambition. You really can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you fucking can't because he's with his fucking promoter, and everybody knows Eddie Hearn runs things, and it's Eddie Hearn's show, and he's got in this fight, and if he's fighting Gennady Golovkin, nobody can fucking talk about him being scared of any fucking body. Or lacking ambition.
Now,
he's fighting Gennady Golovkin. He's supposed to be the fucking killer in the sport. How does he lack ambition? Seriously, fucking be real.
Seb, let Donnie come in and have his say here.
So look, the thing is that I'm sick of Kell Brook getting credit for going over for a mandatory fight when his promoter lost the purse bid, and people, he had been a professional fighter for nearly 10 years, right? And he had, out of the 3 aborted Alexander fight affairs, he was responsible for 2 of them. Whether the injuries were legitimate or not, I'm not even questioning that. I'm just saying at the end of the day, twice he pulled out of that fight, out of the 3 total pullouts that had taken place. And so people were just really, really impatient to see that. And then also, it wasn't, I think, and just correct me if I'm wrong later, but not right now, I believe he also turned down a fight with Bradley when he was with Warren a while back. But either way, the point is that, 10 years had passed. He had to take that title fight. And, of course, he wanted Eddie to win the purse bid. But at that point, after all that he had been through and after all the aborted, quests to gain a welterweight title, he would have completely abandoned him and strung him up if he had, failed to go over to the United States and honor that mandatory obligation. So
not really, because he's got a pretty loyal fan base in Sheffield that have kept turning out in about 7,000 or 8,000. Look, the IBF thing.
Wait, one more thing.
Hold on, I'll go for it.
All right, no, all I'm saying is that is his most notable win. It's a good win. It's a very good win.
I think it's a very good win.
Yeah, no, and I have no problem with that. But I guess what I'm just saying is just that, I mean, I think he saw what Khan did. I think he saw that Khan's reputation still intact. Now, Khan didn't have a title at 147, but he did have a right to a mandatory shot with Garcia, which is the fight that we're anticipating seeing in December. And so he realized, geez, like, I have a title at 147, I can hang on to it, I can go up. You know what? And I think that that's going to be the future of, like, we always lament risk-taking in modern boxing. I think this is, like, the future of risk-taking, and I think you're seeing it now. It's like guys won't take risks in their own division because they don't want to be embarrassed in case they lose, but they can always take risks in higher divisions because, and, hey, I'll give it a go, and who's gonna knock them for that? Like, we always like to see world-class fighters fight other world-class fighters, and even if they're a division or a division and a half or two divisions apart, we'll take it because, we're starved for that same sort of competition when fighters are in the same division. So I think that, like, having that sort of built-in, I don't want to say built-in excuse, but sort of having that situation where it's like, or if I lose, I still have options down, my natural weight. I think that's going to be, I think you're going to see a lot more of that in the future. People aren't willing to take risks within their own divisions, but they're willing to take them now, I think, across divisions. Hello?
Right, guys, we're gonna try and move on. I have plenty of Twitter questions here, so I'm gonna throw a few in. It's good back and forth discussion and that, but I want to keep things moving and try and move on to a few possibly.
Let Donnie off the hook.
No, I'm not.
I'm joking, man. I'm joking.
I wasn't really listening to what he was saying, to be honest with you, so I don't know if I let him off the hook or not. Sorry about that, Donnie. Daughter was trying to settle her there. I'm sure what you said was very accurate and a great point. I'm going to ask you a question, actually. No, Dave Loback. I'm going to ask a question to Mr. Dave Loback. We haven't heard from him in a while. It's actually from regular listener Chad Hogan over on Twitter. He's asking you, Dave, Margarito versus Brook. I'm assuming he means the current version of Margarito, who returned recently and maybe didn't look in the best of shape. Who wins out of that one?
Well, thanks for the question, Brian. If he means the current Margarito, I mean, yeah, current Margarito gets smashed by current Brook, even at 154 or 160. I mean, because Margarito's a natural welterweight. Prime for prime, that's interesting. I would say I would have to favor Margarito because I think Brook doesn't like the educated pressure. Margarito's had a much better chin than Sean Porter, I think, even though Porter's is excellent. And could keep up that pressure, could wear Brook out, especially at welterweight where Brook's tight at the weight. I think he would probably stop him late.
He would absolutely destroy him. Be honest, Dave.
Well, yeah, maybe. Margarito is still in question because of the wraps. I know that's another issue that Seb can rant on for hours.
He's a Margot fan as well.
I honestly think, oh shit, I don't even want to touch that one.
Well, you're a fan of both, so who do you have?
I love both. I'm not even going to touch it. Fuck that. It's not relevant, so I'm gonna. If it was relevant, I'd touch it, but it ain't a relevant fight, so I'm not going to touch it. I love both guys, without reservation. Margarito's my guy.
All right,
Tommy, are you back with us? Thanks, Dave. Tommy, are you back with us?
I'm here, mate. Aye. I've just been on Twitter there. All right, fire on.
Don't go on Twitter, Tommy, while we're trying to talk to you.
Well,
Come on, man, have a bit of respect.
I'm hearing this wee disagreement with Mr. Eddie Hernan on Twitter, who's basically bought a bet with me on Triple G against Kell Brook. She's bet $1,000, so aye, but now he's asking for odds, so he can't be too confident in his boy if he's asking for odds, can he? Eddie's farter went,
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that, Tommy. I've got more. Forget about Eddie.
Do you know what though, Tommy?
I'm more important now for you right now.
Tom. You know how confident I was in Tyson Fury, and yet I still asked Albie Proud, the Proud Lunatic, for odds. So that might not necessarily be completely true because if you're a betting man, you've got to make as much money as you can. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, they fuckers are worth 200 million though. Come on, that's like $100.
Oh yeah, true.
Right, Steve.
You've been working 12-hour shifts, Tommy. What are you on about?
What's that, mate?
You've been working 12-hour shifts. What are you complaining about?
I know, mate. Coining in the new it's fucking in one-handed, still in one-handed out there. I'm still skint.
Right, listen to me, Tommy. Edward Mays on Facebook. This is a question relating to the Eubanks and what they were looking for during the negotiations. How much control should a main event fighter have over an event? Should they be allowed to dictate terms down to commentators, or should that be solely for the promoter to decide?
Well, when they sign a promotional agreement, that's obviously all that stuff's probably stipulated in contracts, isn't it? When he's obviously signed with them. So if Hearn's obviously the promoter, and that's his job. They should fucking stand aside and just let Eddie do what he does. At the end of the day, their job's to fight. So they get in and fight and let the promoters deal with the rest of the shit. That's the way I see it.
Fair enough, Tommy. Dead on, no problem. Dave Lee, you still hanging on in there? I've got a question for you from Phil's Right Cross on Twitter. Is Brook Triple G anything more than a cynical cash grab? Just a brief one on that, Dave, because I think we've sort of discussed that to a certain extent.
Yeah, I think we've touched on it enough, but that would be my suspicion. Again, if I'm wrong, I'll hold my hands up and say it, but I think, yeah, it is a bit of a cynical cash grab.
Donny, it's great to have you on, man. I'm glad you've joined us. Actually, I've got a brilliant question for you. I've saved this one for you from Phil's Right Cross. A little bit of perspective from across the pond. Regarding the Eubanks, do you think that Eubank Jr.'s link to a Triple G bout was just a publicity stunt with no interest to actually make the fight happen?
Well, I'm going to say yes, but with a caveat just that I think at the end of the day, if you pay people enough money and you let them have absolutely everything, I think sometimes there will be... what if the fight was worth 10 million pounds or something? Would Eubank take it? Yeah, he would have gotten his face smashed in, but of course he would have taken it. Everybody has a price, like the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase used to say. But at the end of the day, no, for the amount of money that was literally and realistically on the table, no, it was a complete publicity stunt. And I wouldn't even doubt that Hearn knew maybe even a week or two before that they weren't going to take this fight, because when he was getting dicked around by all these like crazy demands, it's reminiscent of when Floyd had all these like ridiculous demands about the circumstances of, every little possible thing or whatever with certain fighters. Although the difference between Floyd and Eubank is that Floyd is Floyd, right? I mean, he has the cred, he has the pound for pound status, he has the celebrity status to command that his opponent jump when he says jump, and when he says piss, opponent has to says what color. But Eubank is not there yet, and the fact that when they started asking for this stuff, I think Hearn should have cut him right off, because they obviously weren't interested. They just wanted to put their name out there in the middleweight discussion. Chris Eubank Sr. is a fighter. Fighters know fighters. He knows his son wasn't ready for this. I don't think he ever would have put him in for that. No.
Paul Webb, we're rifling through them now. Phil's Right Cross. Why was Team Vargas not snapping Hearn's hand off for a $2 million payday when his maximum before was £600,000? Was the $2 million actually on the table? The last I saw was 1.7. But how do you respond to that anyway, Paul? Sorry,
mate, that cut out at the start. What was the start of the question?
Oh, apologies, Paul. It was, why was Team Vargas not snapping Hearn's hand off for a $2 million payday when his maximum before was £600,000?
Because just because his maximum before was that money doesn't mean he thinks he should be worth way more than he is. And obviously when the whole issue with the pound dropped a bit, it would have cost Hearn an extra $250,000. But when they say it would cost Hearn a $250,000, what that actually means is Hearn offered him a $250,000 less than what he'd have had initially. So they live in this world where they think these Americans that, give so much grief to British fighters, and the American fans say, you've got to prove yourself if you come over here. They offered him 3 times his biggest ever purse, and that was when he fought Bradley on HBO. Now, it was a big fight, and he still turned it down. Even though the money wasn't quite as good as it would have been the previous week following the Brexit, it was still a huge amount of money. He's not going to earn that money anywhere else. He's not a pay-per-view fighter in America. I don't know where he thinks he's going to go. What, another fight with Bradley? And if he does, he'll get good money for that. He might get $700,000-800,000 maybe, but that's an absolute push. It was a very silly move by Vargas, but I think they felt like for the fight to happen, Brook would have had to take a very, very small percentage. And who's the person bringing the value to the fight? Who's bringing the pay-per-view option from Sky? It's going to be put on by a British promoter. That was Brook. But Vargas priced himself out, and he's now got to sit on his thumbs.
But here's the one thing though that you're missing on that though, is that the welterweight division right now is mostly controlled by Heyman and Arum. right, with Vargas, because he has a title. So the thing is that the reason why I think Kell Brook never came over to the United States and fought some of these top welterweights or had them come over there was just because they know that they hold all the cards, right? And so, I mean, why shouldn't they take it? Like when Provodnikov, Bob Arum took an option on him. I think, what was it? After the who did Provodnikov fight that Arum took the option? Was it Alvarado? So after the deal was that, all right, I'll give you access. You can fight Mike Alvarado, but if you beat him, then I get the option to promote his next fight, and that's when they made the Bradley fight. So, I mean, basically, like, I think that probably Arum and Heyman were probably asking for one fight options, and Eddie Hearn was too greedy to let them, to give them away for one fight, potentially, if they won. And that's why you never saw him fight some of these top welterweights, is that they probably just held down the line because they have all the other top welterweights in the division, and so Brook was kind of the odd man out.
But after he beat Sean Porter, which at the time was obviously a very impressive result, not necessarily the method that he got there, but it was still a very, very solid win on his record. The likes of the Danny Garcias, the Keith Thurmans, and all those guys, if there was any real sense, they'd have wanted to get him over, but there didn't seem to be, like I say, any desire to bring Brook in. Hearn's always maintained that's because they know how good Brook is, and also I think part of it is because Brook isn't always the most fan-friendly, and I think the Porter fight exemplified that. There was no clamour for the networks to get him back on again. But it's a difficult one because he's a legit guy. The Ring have got him number one. Whatever you make of the Ring rankings, they still have him that high. Obviously, it's an American magazine, and they do rate him highly. Yeah, he's pound for pound number 10. So he's rated very highly by a lot of people, and it may well be that none of the welterweights really fancied it. I mean, Hearn's been saying this for ages, but you take a lot of what he says with a pinch of salt. But he says they've offered fights to a lot of guys, and they've never really got anywhere, or none of them, the likes of Keith Thurman, have distanced themselves from that fight. And Keith Thurman's getting loads of plaudits for beating Sean Porter, which was a good win, but it's someone that Brook beat 18 months ago.
But you're talking about well, Kell Brook's bringing in all the money, and that's true. I mean, he Eddie can put it on pay-per-view. He is going to draw a good crowd over in the UK or whatever. But the thing was, Kell Brook was turning down these fights, or Eddie Hearn was at least on his behalf, was turning them down at the height of the Heyman, throw money around like it's like going out of style era, right? He could have gotten plenty of money to go over there. It was that Eddie didn't want to give a one-fight option on Brook. In the event that he beat, Thurman or something. Al Heyman, I guarantee you, said, I want to promote Kell Brook's next fight in the United States, and he would have put him in with another one of Heyman's guys, and Eddie didn't want to be cut out. That's the standard operating practice for any major promoter in the United States.
But he shouldn't. Sorry to interrupt, Johnny, but he shouldn't have to. I mean, it's a very much an American thing. They want 4 or 5 options. So it might be one option, but sometimes it's 4 or 5.
But if everyone in your division is in a certain location, right? Like, for instance, I mean, Sergey Kovalev never really got to build himself up and get fans the way Golovkin did, because they were putting Golovkin events out there as like standalone events, right? Whereas Kovalev was like, geez, all the good money fighters are in Montreal. I'm going to go fight up there. Same with Chad Dawson, fought in Montreal a bunch of times because the light heavyweight division was hot in Montreal, and so they all fought up there. But it's like sometimes when everybody else in the division is controlled either by one promoter or 2 promoters or one geographical area, in this case the United States, sometimes you need to play ball within that framework and go out and make those fights. And if you have to give something up to do it, then you should do it. But, Hearn is too provincial. He's like, I'm not going to, I have a guy here, he's a pay-per-view fighter, I'm not going to give him up. I mean, I actually, I put fault on Hearn mostly, but I also put fault on Brook for not pressuring Hearn to let him go and let him go over and try to make his name and beat, because their money was there. You could say whatever you want about PBC wasn't getting good ratings or whatever like that, but Al Heyman was throwing around money like it was going out of style. Brook would have
but there's a reason, Johnny, why he did it. Yeah, sorry, mate. There's a reason why he did it. There's a reason why he let the likes of McDonnell and Selby go, because McDonnell and Selby, despite their ability, were never going to be potentially pay-per-view stars in the UK, no matter what they did or who they won, because of the weight divisions that they're in.
You agree with Eddie Hearn?
No, that's what I mean. But Eddie Hearns wanted, so he looked at it.
Can I just butt in and say something a minute? I heard from a very good source, and these are guys who spoke to Oscar De La Hoya at the time. Sorry, I'm a little bit not quite with it, but the geezers who I spoke to at the time, well, I didn't speak to them, I got the word through. somebody who was connected to him. Basically, they were saying Oscar De La Hoya had told them personally that the reason Eddie Hearn pulled Kell Brook out of that fight with Devon Alexander for the last time was because Eddie demanded money at late notice, and Oscar De La Golden Boy weren't, and Golden Boy / Heyman weren't prepared to meet his demands, blah, blah, blah. And that's the real reason why, I probably shouldn't even be saying this, but that's the real reason why Kell was pulled out of Devon Alexander the last time. So, I mean, none of this shit is Kell's fault, really. I'm just saying. And I'll dip out again. Cheers.
Okay, Donny, thanks, Paul. I'm going to move on. We have another caller coming on soon. I think Brian King's looking to come on, which is fair enough, but I'm telling Brian and I'm telling anybody else on the call right now, any screeching, shout each other or cutting over or whatever, then you're gone, kicking you off the call. And that goes for me as well, by the way. I'll kick myself off the call, Andy, and you can host.
This is pure.
I'm just laying down.
Yep. This is, Steve, I'm proud of you, mate, and you took up the host. Paul Patterson's just come right. I've educated you well, mate. Fucking proud of you.
No, I know I let a lot of shit go. I like people to have conversations. I like people to talk and have their say, and everybody has a chance. But people start shouting over each other.
Be honest, though, mate. Listen, be honest. Don't shouting over each other because it fucks up the sound and you can't hear it when you download it. So stop fucking moaning. So come on, have your say. Let the man finish. Let the response. If he wants to come back in, you say so. That's the way it's going to be.
Thank you, Andrew. Right. Thomas, you still with us?
I am just sitting here in the background. I'm enjoying all of this tonight. This is great, Lex. Oh, it's real worth coming on, man. Get Brian on, let's hear it. Come on.
Right. Jose Aldo's revenge. Tommy, put yourself into Eddie Hearn's shoes right now, okay? Why is nobody being objective? That the venue, the date, the pay-per-view was all booked, then Matchroom had to find a new opponent at the last minute.
Sorry, what's the question again? Sorry, mate. My sound's gone a bit dodgy there.
I think it might be my sound, actually, but why is nobody being objective in that Matchroom had the date and the venue and the pay-per-view all sorted out, and then they're the ones who had to find the opponent at the last minute? I think Jose Aldo's revenge is saying basically cut them a bit of slack. Would you agree with that?
I definitely, 100%. They've obviously had the date and that booked. I really, as I say earlier, I don't have a problem with the fight. They tried to make the Eubank fight. They couldn't get up. To be quite honest, I think Eddie done well actually getting Brook in and on that sort of short notice to take the fight. I know we gave the Matchroom quite a lot of shit, but as I said, I didn't mind the fight, and I think Eddie's done pretty well there getting this on, especially at short notice. Yeah. And Kell does. I give Kell quite a lot of stick. He deserves credit as well for taking the fight at that short notice.
Fair enough, Tommy. Right, we've got Brian's jumped on the call. Brian, I've said to all the other guys, I'm not saying this exclusively to you, but don't be shouting or screaming with everybody, okay? And nobody will shout or scream at you, hopefully, because we want to keep this as civil as we can, so everyone can have a listen, everyone can have their say, and blah, blah, blah. Unmute yourself, Brian. I'm just going to let you roll. Tell me whatever you want to tell me, and then we'll respond.
I don't know. I've not been listening to the pod. I just get told to like somebody to phone up, so I thought I would phone up. I'll maybe start with the Brook situation. I mean, I know you've got a guy on your call now that talks some amount of fucking garbage when it comes to Brook, but I know for a fucking fact the amount of people that he fucking turned down to fight. And he's turned around there, Brook wants to fucking fight everybody. But maybe he does. But all we know is for a fact is he turned the fight down with Bradley. The excuse was money, right? When the guy wasn't making money in the first place, he turned down a fight with Sinchenko when Sinchenko was the world champion. Now, Sinchenko isn't shit without a belt. He wouldn't even take that fucking fight, saying it was money again, right? Who takes a fight? Paulie fucking Malignaggi goes over there and beats him, right? He was offered. He pulled out of the fucking Alexander fight twice because he couldn't make fucking weight. He was out partying all the time, getting full of gear. We all fucking know this, right? Hearn's fucking more or less admitted it.
Ezekiel!
Hold on. Carry on, Brian.
When you go, Brian.
He turned to the fight with Mike Jones as well. He was backed into a corner with fucking to fight Porter because he was going nowhere. He was going nowhere. See if he didn't take that Porter fight, his career was finished. No, I scored the fight to fucking Porter. I know Kurt scored the fight to Porter, but he got the win. Fair enough. He should have fucking built on that, right? The rumours are that he also was offered the Bundridge fight at 154 pound and he turned that down as well. How many fucking fights has this guy turned down? He was also mandatory for Patacal. Whether he would get that or no, they done fuck all even trying to even get this fight. So see this, like, he wants to fight every country people's ducking him. It's a fucking lie. Who's ducking him? Not one person. Tell me who's actually turned the fight down. Amir Khan probably, right? Because Amir Khan's
bullshit. Fucking bullshit.
Right, well Tommy, you're a Khan fan, but I'll just use that as an example.
Right, but wait a minute, do you think Brook deserves $4 million for that fight?
I don't think Brook deserves fucking shit.
Correct,
But that's not the fucking point. I'm not interested in what boxers make. I couldn't give a fuck if boxers end up in the dole, right? So, this thing that Kell Brook here is some sort of fucking boogeyman, but it's a fucking myth. It's an absolute fucking myth. I mean, look what he done with, who was the guy who was supposed to fight? Chavez? Because it wasn't going to pay-per-view that he pulled a fake injury. This is fucking shite, man. The guy's
let's hear what he's got to say. Go on then, Seb. No semantics. Respond to him.
What am I supposed to respond to? How many points did he fucking raise? Like
well, you're an intelligent guy. You should be able to fucking...
The Bradley thing wasn't anything to do with money. It was to do with weighing up the options between Timothy Bradley and the IBF route, and they went the IBF route.
I can tell you right now.
No, that is exactly what it... That was the official line. Well, that was the official line, right? Was that the official line or not?
No, Eddie Hearn turned around and says that they wanted options on the fight
and they also said that they preferred the IBF route when all things were weighed up. That they did say that, and you can search the internet and you can search Google and you will find that.
I don't need to search the internet, but Eddie Hearn face to face told me
well,
that
exact fucking thing. Neither do I, G. But at the end of the day, you're calling me a fucking fanny pad, mate. Like, I heard you're a quiet guy in real life. That's all I'm saying, mate. I heard you quiet. I heard you're a quiet dude in real life, and we're talking about fucking fanny pads on the internet.
What the fuck's that got to do? You're sounding like fucking wingy boxing right now, and you're a white fucking middle class guy. What the fuck are you talking about?
I'm a white middle class guy, I'm a middle class guy.
I'm middle class. Hold on a minute. In race or homophobia, any of this shit. Okay, let's just stick to the boxing. So, have you finished, Seb? I mean, what are we arguing about?
What does he specifically?
I mean,
if he tells me, because he raised several points. He raised several points, didn't he? So what is it you want me to answer, Brian? I mean, we're fellow Floyd boys, mate. We should get along. Why are you so pissy?
Because you talk some amount of shit, that's right.
About what, mate? About what?
You know what?
About a pod I don't even listen to, man. I don't even listen to your shit, bro.
Nobody's asking. Nobody's asking you to listen to the pod, brother.
Alright, mate, but why do you want?
We're not silent here. We're just
chill the fuck out. Chill the fuck out. I mean it right now. Both of you, Brian, make your point. Seb, chill the fuck.
I mean, there's a middle ground here when it comes.
Sorry, I've got rid of both of them.
Well.
Oh well.
Oh, okay.
That's fucked, eh?
That was fucking shit.
I agree with quite a lot.
I'm sorry, guys, right? I'm sorry, but that just wasn't going anywhere as far as I was concerned. No questions being asked, no questions being answered. So
that was
I'm sorry,
shit.
I'm going to move on.
Move on, Steve. Good on you, mate.
Amir Khan.
You're a fucking savage, Stevie boy.
Whelan's just iced him.
Sorry, Amir, that you had to jump on at that point, man. But jump on and tell us what you're thinking about the Kell Brook Gennady Golovkin situation. Amir, are you with us? Oh,
Steve's iced him too.
Sorry, Amir. He may be angry. I'm trying to find another critter question desperately now.
I was going to say, I don't advise anyone tries to impersonate Amir.
Oh my fucking
Wait, so
God.
let me just get this straight. So Steve knocked off two people where they were having a fun argument, and then he had absolutely nothing to fall back on.
It's not really a fun argument, because see, at the end of the day, there's fucking whether it's trolling or no on Twitter, right? There's a lot of shit getting said. Okay, a lot of people are coming on, messaging me, Steve, Tommy, and stuff like that, telling us get Seb off the fucking call. Who the fuck? Listen, I'm speaking here. Who the fuck is anybody to come to us and tell us who have ran this fucking show for 3.5 years to get anybody off our fucking call. Let me tell you something. We won't accept anybody on this fucking phone call. Anyone. So they start coming to us and fucking making demands. If you want to have your say, you come on the call like a fucking man and you have your say. Right?
Agreed.
It's that simple.
Agreed.
Okay? When I was host, I had numerous cunts tell me you need to get Alex off the fucking call because he's too fucking he's too down on the fucking sport, right? So Alex goes off the fucking podcast for fucking 3 months or whatever it is. In fact, it's published since fucking February until Friday there. That's fucking 4 months, right? What do the cunts tell us? Oh, we need to get Alex back on the call. So what's fucking changed in the last 3 months? Huh? What has changed in the last fucking 3 months? Get a fucking grip.
Right.
As a laugh,
Right.
okay? The guys
And,
Sorry, Steve, when you go.
I'm going to try to take some semblance of order here. Just saying to the listeners, if you're enjoying that, I do apologise. But, you know, I've got no problem with Brian, no problem with Seb, but I don't think the argument was going anywhere, so I'm just going to move on, because we're looking at 9:30 here, guys. Amir, sorry, man. I think you need to unmute yourself. I don't think I can unmute you. It says it's blank on my side, so you might have to unmute yourself. I'm having a bit of an issue here. While Amir tries to work that out, Paul, I'm going to ask you a question here from Hemmings10 on Twitter. He says, who would you say is the most overpaid fighter in boxing, taking into consideration the level of the opponent? Who's been mostly overpaid?
Leo Santa Cruz. Up until Carl Frampton, he's fought absolutely nothing and routinely got 7-figure paydays for no real justification. I think he's the most. I think anyone that's earning millions and millions, you could argue, is overpaid. But yeah, Santa Cruz, just for earning a lot of money, and his resume, as we discussed last week, is shocking.
Well, see, to be honest, Leo Santa Cruz has actually got quite a good resume. And if you look at Anthony Joshua, your fucking hero, there you go. There's your man right there.
What was that question?
Most. What was it? Overpaid for the.
I remember this question. They could actually say any fighter on the sport just now, actually. But I think Anthony Joshua is a fair one. Like,
what about
press passes? Listen, press passes are casual. He's never going to turn around and fuck.
Who did he say? Santa Cruz?
Yeah.
He's Leo Santa Cruz, Christian Maharis, Cedar, Tarasa. So they're not good fighters, man.
Decent fighters, aye. AJ is the most overpaid fighter just now.
Come on, by a mile, Paul. Come on, you've got to admit that. Come on.
Admit
who's got the better resume between Leo Santa Cruz and fucking AJ? Come on, man.
LSC, baby.
Admit it, Paul.
Yeah, but the difference is that overpaid doesn't mean, you know, who has the weakest resume and gets like at least Anthony Joshua sells pay-per-view. He earns his money because he sells the pay-per-view. I mean, like, you can disagree as to whether or not casuals should buy his pay-per-view in droves, but he ultimately justifies the money he earns. What you're really looking for, and I'm not going to even name any names. I'll let you guys name some names. But what I'm talking about is like when somebody fights with virtually no like viewership, you know, very, very low viewing figures or something, and they're still getting $1 million paydays. Those are the guys they're looking for who are overpaid. Are the guys
But the question was,
they have neither the pound-for-pound chops nor the drawing ability to justify the outrageous money that they get. That's the fight of the
Anthony Joshua was a millionaire before he threw a punch in a pro ring.
So did Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard.
Here, actually. Let David in. Sorry.
Sugar Ray Leonard made
Leo Santa Cruz, wasn't he? Leo Santa Cruz, wasn't he?
Sugar Ray Leonard made
Leo Santa Cruz, wasn't he?
What?
Leo Santa Cruz wasn't a millionaire before he threw a punch.
What's that do with anything?
Basically, AG was a millionaire before he was pro.
What to do with everything, mate. We're talking about who's the most overpaid. The guy's a millionaire before he threw a punch.
Yeah, and so was Sugar Ray Leonard.
Sugar Ray Leonard's nothing to fucking do.
Sugar Ray Leonard was not a millionaire.
No, he made 34 grand. He made 34 grand for his first fight.
At the particular time,
34 grand he made for his first fight.
All right, Sugar Ray Leonard and Amir Khan were both getting, like, were probably millionaires before they even won their first title, like, because they were gold medalists, and so is Joshua. You know, to the victor goes the spoils. There's nothing wrong with that.
The only problem is Joshua wasn't the victor. He got at least one gift in the Olympics. His gold medals made out of fucking tin.
Get out of here, Dave. Right, listen, guys. The next questions, we need to get on to value of the week. We need to get on to our Kovalev Chemba chat. So, with respect, whoever I'm asking the question to, just let them answer and move on because, in fact, Amir's on the call still as well. So, I'm going to try and fish out a question for you, Amir, actually, if you don't mind. If I can bring one up. Given the Eubank situation, are you blaming senior or junior for the fact that the Eubank didn't manage to fight Gennady Golovkin? I botched that a bit, Amir, but are you basically blaming junior or senior out of the two of them? Who do you think's most to blame for the Gennady Golovkin fight not coming off, Amir?
I think it's Junior's fault. It comes down to him not wanting it. I think he could have gone behind his dad's word and took the fight if he really wanted it. I think he knew it was going to be a difficult fight, and he wanted, more money from the fight. And obviously, as Eddie Hearn says, there's only so much money in the pot. So I think it's completely the son's fault.
So in general, are you happy with the alternative? Are you happy with the fact that Brook's fighting Golovkin? I mean, do you see this as a mismatch, or where do you stand on that?
Like you guys, I give Brook like 0% between win about 10%. If Brook loses, he can go back down, maybe fight Khan. If he wins, I don't think he'll win. There'll be a bigger fight, but it'll just be nice to, see GGG over here and see, how good he is.
Excellent stuff, man. Leon from the Coalition, actually, Dave Lee is asking who do you think the referee for the Brook Golovkin fight should be. He's putting forward Steve Schmoger, so we
exactly.
Howard Foster.
Howard Foster.
Yeah, Steve Schmorger's my man, definitely.
Or Victor Lachlan. He'll let it go. I've been like, one of the things about GGG, which has kind of annoyed me in recent fights, the refs do jump in to protect the guys too early, so we don't get to see a nice systematic, brutal beatdown with blood spraying all over the ring. That's what I like is attractive about some of GGG's fights. But like, the refs are jumping in too quick, and I'm not appreciating it. Like against Dominic Wade, even Lemieux, the refs saved their ass before they could really take a beating. And I'm hoping that we get to see that this time.
Schmoger's the other extreme, doesn't he? He just lets fights go on way too long. My favourite Schmoger performance was, I don't know if any of you remember, when Paul Ingle fought Junior Jones. I mean, Junior Jones was defenceless on the ropes, getting pounded, and Schmoger steps in, but everyone thought he was stopping the fight. He was giving Jones a standing A count, and the poor fucker could barely stand up. He told him to walk forward, he staggered forward, and Ingle finished him off properly. He's fucking unreal, man. He's lethal. That's why I love him.
I think the fight will be stopped. Do you think there'll be the referee stopping it, or will it just be Brook can't get up?
I can see him being busted up. I mean, I can see the nose being done, the blood all over the place. He's just has that look on his face that Triple G opponents seem to have as, Jesus, this guy's just unreal. Right. Tommy, I'm going to ask this one to you from Macho Grande on Twitter. In Britain alone, who do you think is the best inside fighter? In Britain alone? Bit of a tough one, Tommy, for you, but you can handle it. You're a big guy.
Tommy's on Twitter, I think.
Do you want to take that one up, Andy?
What was the question, mate?
Best inside fighter in Britain.
Right.
The fighting inside, the James Toney of Britain.
Best inside fighter. Fucking hell, there's a question. I really want to gaze a bit of thought, Steve. Come back to me about right. Didn't ask anybody else. Let me think about it. Go to the next question. Let me think.
I'm
back.
I'm back.
Oh, would you hear that question?
Right.
Best inside
Best
fighter.
inside fighter in Britain. See the thing with that is most of your fighters have come for the amateur school, Ken, and that's more like fencing and fighting. I'll tell you who's got a Nah. Although he has improved in that department under Virgil Hunter, especially under pressure. But I think Nathan Cleverley's actually not too bad when he's inside. He likes that. He's definitely got the fast combinations that inside. But as I say, most of your fighters come from the amateur school. They're fucking mid-distance fighters and that, So you to be honest, you don't really see much good in fighting in the sport today.
That's the problem, mate. I don't think there's any teachers in the sport. I think Hopkins mentioned it. James Toney, I fucking love seeing his prime. He was amazing to watch.
Yep.
I think we mentioned the fucking Yarov fight. He wasn't prime, but that you want to talk about infighting and defence. I think we mentioned it before. That Vasily Yarov James Toney fight was quality infighting. You just didn't get it, especially like off your fighters anyway.
Sorry, mate. On you go.
Yeah, sorry, Tommy. It's particularly unusual in Britain, isn't it? Your proper class inside fighting. I think that's why Ricky Hatton stood out. I remember watching him in only his second fight under the Hamid Kelly undercard, and I was thinking to myself, who the fuck is this fella? I thought he was unreal. He was shit hot, and he was fresh out of the amateurs, and he was fighting like a Mexican. I think that was what his nickname was for first few fights, the Manchester Mexican. And, he really stood out. It was very unusual for a British fighter to have that sort of style. So yeah, it is tough to think about who has those type of qualities in Britain, because traditionally they don't really have proper old school inside fighting skills.
Dave, in Ireland, would you say in Tim's Michael Sweeney, especially after that rematch?
I actually didn't see the rematch.
You're in for a rare treat.
But when was that? When was that? When did that rematch happen? I know
MGM undercards.
Oh yeah, because I think it was the Box Nation show or that, didn't it?
That's right, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I missed that whole show, but yeah, that's right, yeah. Timsy, I have a soft spot for Timsy. I like him. He's a nut job. I love him.
He is. He's a good lad, Timsy. Donny, don't worry about Ian Timms. I'm not going to ask you about him. You're not know about Timsy. Andy Mina's asking you, which active boxers are future Hall of Famers? Sugar Shane?
Yeah, all right. Are we saying based off of what they've done, or based off what I think they will do?
Based off whatever you want.
Okay, based off of what they've already done, I think you could say Ward, certainly, Kovalev, probably Golovkin, and if he's not there yet, he will get there. I think one more. Actually, he probably doesn't even need one, but because everyone thinks I kiss his ass, I'll just say if he gets one more good win, I think Kana's there.
Tim Bradley's a stick on him.
Yeah, well, I was going down the weights. Yeah, of course, Tim Bradley is there.
Oh, you were just at middleweight there when you mentioned Amir, weren't you?
Exactly. Yeah, right. Yeah, Bradley. I think who else is already on? I think Chocolatito's already there. I think
Nonito Donaire.
Nonito Donaire already there. I think, those are guys that are already there. Guys, I think that will get there. Maybe Fury, maybe Joshua, maybe maybe actually.
It's quite a tough.
You could go through a lot. You could go through a lot, Donny, really, with conjecture.
Yeah, with the conjecture, you run the risk of going way too far. Maybe I think that guys like Thurman and Porter, and I mean welterweight's pretty loaded. You're going to have some of them. The Brook can get there too, but they need to do a lot more. But they're close. They're like one step away from at least knocking on the door. Jeez. Who else could get there? Lomachenko could get there. Lomachenko has this talent and the ability to beat the guys he needs to beat to get there, certainly. Rigo should be there. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot out there. I think Estrada should get there. Inoue might get there. There's a lot of guys that have potential.
Okay, no problem, Donny. Right, we'll have a final question. Then we're going to move on to Value of the Week, guys. Bit of Kovalev Chilemba chat, and then we will bail the hell out of here. Who am I going to ask this one to?
Kovalev. Isaac Chilemba, of course.
Shut the fuck up, Donny.
Who beats Isaac Chilemba? I mean, come on, though. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer.
Dave,
I can't wait for this fight, actually.
Listen, you're going to have to wait, Andy, I'm afraid, because we're going to be discussing it at the end. Dave Loback,
I'm loving this new Steve by him. He's ruling with an iron rod.
You with us, Dave Loback?
Yes.
Excellent. Right, final question from my friend Rory McGonigal. Shout out to Rory, regular listener of the pod. Dave, Do you think AJ being pay-per-view exclusive could harm him going forward in terms of activity? It's possible he isn't fighting till November, as that's when Hearns next has a pay-per-view available. Would it be possible or advisable for Hearn to occasionally put him on regular Sky the way Golden Boy do with Canelo?
Yeah, if he is nothing but pay-per-view, yeah, that's going to harm him. I think he should be much more active, even if he's fighting some guys that aren't like super. Even if he's fighting, let's say, Kevin Johnson level guys as like a keep busy fight, I think that's useful to keep him in shape, to keep him disciplined. It's certainly not pay-per-view, but I think he should stay busier. And they can't. What's the limit of pay-per-views per year for Sky? It's like 2 or 3.
Well, there's no limit, you see, because the rumours were that Eddie was being asked to make 6 to 8 or something over the year.
Well, pay-per-views are different there too, because they're so much cheaper. I don't know, but I'm not a fan of pay-per-view at all. I would hope that it dies a slow, painful death. Well, a quick, painful death. That would be better.
Everybody, thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and iTunes and like us on Facebook. Unless there's anything else, we're going to move on to Bellew of the Week. Andy, I have quite a few Bellews. I think you have a few to throw in as well once we get going.
Probably, I think so, mate. This whole weekend's been a Bellew by the sounds of it.
No problem. So for the interests of the download, thanks to everyone who downloads us on iTunes, Kurt, we're now going to go into the Bellew of the Week segment. Okay, so I've got a fair few, so please do indulge me as I go through these, because sometimes we get sent these. Andy will tell you the same. We get sent these and you read them and it's all fine, and then whenever we read them back on the night of the pod, might not quite understand what they're saying, or might get the wrong end of the stick, or not see who's saying what. So if I do make a mistake on the Bellew of the Week, then tough.
All I can say is Joy Nelson better win that this week.
Hey, what about... No, I'm not going to say it. We're going to get onto it, don't worry. Right, first nomination for Gary Barham. I have never seen Golovkin fight, but Eubank is too much like his dad. But the difference with it is that his dad could take a punch. I don't think Eubank Jr. has been tested yet. I saw his last fight and he was rarely troubled. However, Nigel Benn's son, he is a class act.
Oh, that makes you shiver.
Thanks to Gary. This is sent in by... It was actually given to my most wise, Mr. Andy himself. David Price is confident he will knock out Anthony Joshua, says Dave Caldwell.
Sorry, Dave, man. I like Dave Caldwell, but that's too much. Come on. Maybe, but people, as I say, people fell in love with that right hand. See that Tom Dallas knockout? I'll never forget the comments after that knockout. By the way, Jesus Christ.
Geordie Attitude tweets at Chris Eubank, tell your lad to stop working out like a beast on camera because GGG will get scared because only fights the lesser and weak. Whoops. Geordie Attitude must have been right. Who's this guy? Meridian Dan. Been following Eubank Jr. on Snapchat for a while now. Triple G is in trouble if the fight happens. Jr. is a savage.
Oh, what? No, fight's not happening, so we didn't get to fucking think about it now. See the worst thing to Eubank's like that, yeah, I'm going to fight. Yeah, remember, he was having a bit of back and forth with Brook on Twitter and stuff, and he says, I'm going to fight the winner. You had your fucking chance to fucking fight, the #1 middleweight in the world. Shat it.
I know. Yep, the chance was there, man. Right, nomination for me. I erroneously stated that a listener lived in Italy when he corrected me this week by saying that he actually lives in Wrexham. Easy mistake to make, man. I mean, come on, Liam Wynn. Bit harsh nominating me for Bellew of the Week. Bellew of the Week nomination for Mr. DeMarcus Chop Chop Corley.
Oh, yes.
He put up a picture of him and Floyd Mayweather, and he said, I would like to do a rematch with Floyd Mayweather. I'm not the fighter he beat 12 years ago. I'm a better fighter now.
Oh, God.
To be fair, though, he's one of the few fighters to properly hurt Mayweather. He had him rocked there. Was it the 4th round? For counter shot.
Big right hand.
Yeah, he had Mayweather in all sorts of trouble. But yeah, laughable though. Talk about a rematch.
A Bellew of the Week nomination for Nigel Benn. This is sent in from Craig Jones.
Blasphemy.
He sent over
Blasphemy. This shouldn't be allowed.
He sent over 1,500 tweets, but he still doesn't realise you have to tag the person you're tweeting. And he showed me some examples. And Nigel is just sending out random tweets into the ether here saying, yes, it will be a great night. Are you serious? That's a great pick, mate. I have not spoken to him in months. Don't know where his head is at, ? But none of them were sent to anybody.
That's just me, innit? That's him, man. Fucking hell. Guy's rough and ready, yeah.
I'm disappointed that you're even thinking about putting Ben up by a bit. When I was hosting Steve, Ben got put forward once before, and I vetoed that vote, man. I'm fucking. No, Duran, Sanchez, and Ben are off the list.
Right. Nomination for Eubank Senior. He tweeted this week, and he was a bit frustrated that the fight between his son and Triple G wasn't taking place. So he started to tag in some pretty high-profile people, including Anton Deck, Simon Cowell, a David Beckham fan Twitter account, BBC Sport, ITV, BT Sport, and numerous others. There was some others tagged as well, which I haven't got on this particular screenshot. But basically, Senior was bringing in the heavy mob.
Aye, and then everybody started then tweeting like Channel 4, fucking First Aid, fucking the MOD, fucking Michael Barrymore. I seen got a comment as well. Who else? Fuck, it was just about every cunt off Coronation Street even got mentioned.
Right, nomination for Johnny at JHY1994. He tweeted at Spencer Fearon. He said, "Spencer, can you call up Chris Eubank? Tell him to drop the small stuff and just make the fight happen. Eubank wins on points for me." Okay.
Have you got Spencer X for the Kell Brooks, a top 10 pound for pound fighter?
I think I have, but if I haven't added it in, Tommy, then please correct me at the end. But I have a belter coming up next. Now, quite a few people sent this one to me, so I'm not going to miss it. It's from the former footballer and full-time shit talker Frank Sinclair. Frank got involved with a bit of boxing knowledge.
Yes.
And he said, looks like Triple G Boxing has ducked Chris Eubank Jr. Would love to know the real reason. Special K Brook is a top fighter, but not a middleweight. # easy option.
Woo! Fucking hell.
Oh, Frank.
He's obviously repping for fucking comp tickets, that motherfucker, isn't he? Got to be.
James Anthony. Some say Triple G is the most avoided boxer, but I think it's Brook. Danny Garcia offered millions and he doesn't want it. Brook has got this, mate.
Oh no.
It's just because he's more
here we are. Tommy, here's Spencer. Not in this case. Chris Eubank Jr. and Chris Eubank Sr. wanted the fight bad, but they know their value. This was sent in by Dippo Osho. Now, Dippo Osho is a regular listener to the podcast. Shout out to Dippo. And he was shitting on Spencer, and he was shitting on Senior, and he was really annoyed.
Yep. Spencer had 2 or 3 belters last week, man. He fucking...
Exactly.
He's need to just delete his Twitter, that cunt.
I used to like Spencer, but it's fucking wrong to go and say you hate a guy for a few tweets and stuff. And I didn't really hate him, but some of the shite he's been coming out with recently, I mean, that is case in point, Steve. Sorry. 3 million.
No problem.
How's 3 million know you're worth to fight Golovkin?
The guy's a British champion. I mean, that's
exactly. You fucking fought once at world level.
Yeah, Spencer's made a few offences this week. Tom Loeffler has actually been nominated as well. He believes Triple G versus Kell Brook is a throwback fight, much like Leonard versus Hagler, and he calls it a historic event.
See that really pisses me off because like Eddie Hearn's going on about how it's a #1 pound for pound fighter in the world, bullshit, and #1 welterweight in the world, that's bullshit. I says to people earlier in the day and stuff, I have got no problem if Gennady Golovkin was to fight a welterweight. To the point is, if this person coming up, see a guy like Floyd Mayweather going up to middleweight and fighting Golovkin, I'd have no problem in that fight, and that's not because I hate Floyd and want to see him get smashed. That's because Floyd Mayweather is an ATG with elite skills and an elite fighter, right? Kell Brook has shown that he's not an elite fighter. He's not even sure he's #1 welterweight in the world. So if these guys were fighting today, Leonard, Hearns, Duran, I have no problem with a smaller guy going up in weight to fight the fucking bigger guy because they're ATGs. Like guys like Floyd, I wouldn't even mind seeing Pacquiao fight Golovkin because he's an ATG. He's fucking proven himself. Brook hasn't. Sorry, we not a rant there. Sorry about that.
Nomination from Brian King for Mr. Johnny Nelson, actually. Johnny Nelson has committed quite a few offences this week. I know that he said in the past that Triple G is a beast and nobody should go near him, yet this week all of a sudden he's saying, oh yeah, Eubank Jr. can win, and then he's saying Special K can win, and all of a sudden he's changing his tune in line with the Matchroom and Sky agenda. And Brian sent this in saying Nelson, hunted Kel can win, and it's from Sky Sports website actually, and basically Johnny Nelson knows exactly what fellow Sheffielder Kell Brook is capable of and believes he can upset the odds against Gennady Golovkin.
Listen.
That's a nomination for Johnny.
I'm going to hate you pick my foot down here, and Johnny has done the Asylum a solid enough for, so Johnny's going to be immune for nomination for Belly of the Week. What do you reckon, Andy, mate?
I agree with that, mate. I mean, Johnny was very... Steve, you were there.
Steve, you were there, aye.
But Steve had a pass to get in. He was officially his media, you know. Steve wasn't repping us at that time. Remember the weigh-in?
We met with pal John when Johnny got us in the weigh-in for fucking...
That's right.
For quick chat.
I was trying to get him to keep you like...
Come on, boys, come in!
He even gave us a fucking the press passes and all that stuff. Sorry, Paul. No pun intended there. And then there you go, boys, no problem. I was talking to him about his book and stuff and other things, but you know how it goes.
That was quite nice. I met him. My dad shagged his dog.
Okay, fair enough, Tommy. I took your comments on board. I decided to file them in the shredder. Johnny Nelson stays on the list, unfortunately. Right, that's all that I have. Nominations.
Right, this one comes in for Dan Glover, and I'm sure this goes to... I think it's Nelson anyway. He just basically goes on about how Kell needs a fight that captures his imagination, puts him on fire, and gives him the hunted mentality rather than being the hunter mentality. Therefore, I expect to see something outstanding from Kell. Without a doubt, he has more to gain than to lose. Kell will just have his IBF welterweight title. He loses his undefeated record. If he does lose, but what could be gained? Go back in history and look at the fighters that have stepped up in those weight divisions. Thomas Hearns and Sugar Ray Leonard. He's been listening to me again, but looks at it again, I see. Kell can punch, Kell can box, Kell can move, Kell is hungry. Yeah, you can tell that. He's a fat bastard. Anybody that fights Kell will tell you his punches are like a stun gun. Golovkin's in trouble, baby, I'm telling you. See, to be honest, see if Golovkin does get... Like, we're in the Bellew segment here, so we can all have a bit of a laugh and that, but can you imagine if Brook wins his fight somehow? If he somehow managed to fucking pull this off, every single person on Twitter, the forums, the podcasts, all the experts or so-called experts need to be trolled or end or retire right now because, you know, the joke is fucking on us.
Yep.
We'll take it.
Also,
I've
got one for Carl Stones, just to show that we're not being biased or anything like that, but Carl's put up the nomination for Seb, apparently for calling him out twice and deleting the tweet twice before he saw his phone. He basically says he knows where I am, the little rat. So Carl's calling out Seb, and I think Seb's basically called him out as well. So I think they live around about the near same area and stuff like that, so we might get a bit of pay-per-view boxing live on YouTube at some point.
Excellent.
Tommy, what's the price, mate? £2.50?
I've got to back my boy Seb here. Like, Seb's got to go in as a favourite in that fight.
Oh, he's jacked,
I like wee Cal, but Seb, I can Seb does a bit of training and shit like that, man. So
just the
early money's going to go with him.
Trains
like a motherfucker.
Well, no, I'm thinking about the pay-per-view money. How much?
Oh, for the pay-per-view, we'll charge it at least at 25 quid, eh? A few casuals out there will fucking swallow that. Dave Lee will buy it anyway, he fucking buys anything, won't he?
Well, definitely.
That's true. Well, listen, see, boss. If you're listening, Cal, you know I'm being a straight shooter with you here, mate. But see, at the end of the day, as I say, everybody that I know, everybody in this podcast has fell out with Seb at one point in their life, right? And he's made his announcement to everybody. He has now pissed everybody off. And see if you just take a bit of time. He's actually no bad guy.
Seb's alright. I was the same as Andy, man. Me and Seb fucking butted heads for a long time as well, man. And he actually is pretty cool.
Okay, well, we're nominating him for Bellew of the Week. Any other nominations anyone want to throw in before we get to the conclusion?
I think we should all just go ahead and just nominate Spencer right now.
I've got three. One actually just came about in the chat on the YouTube video. You have a guy named Rough Mush trying to get his dick wet. For some reason.
Really, Theo?
Yes, for some reason he's chosen our chat box to do it. Another one is the commentary during the that Filipino fight, Albert Pagara versus what's his name, Cesar Juarez. It was a pair of complete casuals. The woman was like, "Well, he did want to win," and then the man said, "Well, there's got to be a rematch right now." Obviously, trying to gear up for the rematch, supporting he's just in total disbelief that Pagara lost. And then there's Paul Webb, of course, for on Friday saying,
"Where's he went to? He shot at that fucking lanky cunt. Where's he went to?"
Well, he's now not going to be able to vote against himself. He said, Andre Ward's everything that's wrong with boxing. And then immediately after that, he said, "I'm a fan."
Press pass bolted there for the nominated Santa Cruz.
Well, press pass bolted after fucking Brian and Seb butted heads.
Did he?
Aye.
Wee dick.
You just know, see when it came down, if your back was against the wall, if you're in the trenches and stuff like that, Paul would just fucking run like fucking
Paul
Big
would.
Bird.
Paul's the kind of cunt. If it was you and him and there was three guys came towards you, you'd turn around and Paul wouldn't be there, eh?
Aye. All you see was this fucking ostrich running across the plains, eh?
He'd run about there like a big fucking... big ostrich.
Right, come on. Dave, have you got any more for us?
That's all
this
from
is
me.
A farce, man. I've driven this thing into the frigging dirt. Dave, Lee, have you got anything? Quickly.
No, not this week, no.
Right, Dave Lee, who's your nomination?
I'll just go for Spencer Fearon.
Classic pick.
Can't go
Andrew?
wrong with that.
Stephen, I'm just going to go for Spencer Fearon as well because he has having a bit of a Bellew. I did want to vote for Johnny, but as you know, Johnny's done us a solid over the years. I'm not going to vote for Seb because he's, we've ripped him for a while. I'm not going to put forward any of the other guys and stuff because, most of the time I got on with those guys, so Spencer Fearon's going to be.
Spencer for me.
Dave Loback.
X.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't care who wins.
Spencer.
I'm going for Frank Sinclair. What about Donny? Donny hasn't voted for anybody.
If Donny's been muted, if Donny's been quiet for this long and still on the call, then
I'm
obviously.
Still here. I'm still
there
here.
he is. But you then.
Go on, posthumous vote, Donald.
Well, not that it matters now, but I will also vote for Spencer Fearon.
Oh,
good lad, Donny. Good lad.
5-1, guys. I went for Frank Sinclair.
See, in the day is.
He'd have won it. Frank Sinclair would have probably won it another week if Spencer didn't have such a fucking nightmare this week, yeah?
It's been bad for him.
Right. Hopefully everybody can hear me while we wrap this thing on up with the fight in Ekaterinburg, Russia. This is the only fight of any note that I know that's going on next week. I haven't even checked the schedule. Getting all casualified. Andy, for the WBA Super World Light Heavyweight title, the IBF World Light Heavyweight title, the WBO World Light Heavyweight title, Mr. Isaac Chilemba, who fights him, who beats him against Mr. Sergei Kovalev 29-0-1 in Russia tomorrow night from 6 PM on Box Nation. Little plug out for them. I'll not be able to watch it live. Hopefully,
I won't.
You guys will hook me up. Andy,
yes.
Go ahead. What is going on here? Is there any chance in hell that Chilemba's going to win this fight?
Zero. But I'm not. Listen, see, after what happened on Friday and stuff with the Golovkin fallout and all that sort of stuff, there was a lot of people. I think I mentioned it about Kovalev. Some people were saying he should go up and wait and whatever. See this fight, and I know Alex mentioned it on Friday as well about the Ward fight not happening. Who's Kovalev going to fight? I think I got that right. If I got that wrong, Alex, sorry, mate. Right, but this fight is going to happen. I personally believe Ward Kovalev is going to happen. Okay, now I've no problem with a tune-up fight because see, Kovalev will fight anybody, and I do mean he will fight anybody. This fight is good build-up fight for the Ward fight. Now, a lot of people are shitting on Chilemba, which is fair enough. That's your opinion, okay? But what's Chilemba? Right? And I'm not going to get into what Tony Bellew said. Let's see who beats him and stuff, right? Let's leave the fucking chilled antics to the side just now and fucking break it down a wee bit. Chilemba is a fucking solid, decent fighter, and it's the best option for him at light heavyweight for a build-up and a tune-up fight to go and fight Andre Ward, because we know what Andre Ward is going to do. We know he's going to spoil and jab and move it at distance and stuff. Chilemba's like that. Chilemba is a counter-puncher. He's got decent foot movement, right? And ultimately, I expect him to get stopped, right? But it's a good fight for Kovalev for building up to fight Andre Ward. And that's all I've got to say about that, as Tony Bellew would say. But I expect Kovalev, I think he'll get him to, well, it depends really how Kovalev comes out. Chilemba's quite a slow starter, and it really depends if Kovalev's going to come out in the mood and he wants to do damage and end it early. If he does, he could end it within the first 4 rounds. If he wants to work on things to see, just kind of, I don't know, maybe just get used to the style, fighting a counter puncher. Just kind of feel it out, see how it's going to work. Because at the end of the day, you can work in the gym all you want. In the ring is where it matters, and that's what I think he maybe do. Maybe want to take the fight a few rounds just to kind of see how he's going to act with a counter puncher, jab him, how he's going to deal, because Chilemba's going to move, right? And Kovalev's going to have to show that fucking foot movement. So, and obviously straight shots, I think, is going to be the main key here for Kovalev, which he does well. Straight left, straight right. He does it. Just his ability to actually stay on balance when he throws these straight punches. Especially the left hand from a kind of like orthodox stance, it's unbelievable. But good fight, I think. I mean, it's obviously not going to be fight of the year. I think Chilemba, as I say, he's going to get evaporated, but good build-up fight for Ward in the November time. So I'm looking forward to it.
Dave Lee, just looking down Chilemba's record, actually, he's a decent guy. He is a good fighter, really. You see, early on he got the draw with Oosthuizen, and he took Maxim Vlasov's unbeaten record. 1 fight to go, he took Vasily Lepikin, his unbeaten record as well. Lost to Elader Alvarez, and a few decent wins against the likes of Denis Grachev thrown in as well. And obviously the Tony Bellew, he came up short against Bellew, and he came up short against Alvarez as well. There's nothing to suggest that he can sort of make that step up onto the next level and upset someone like a Kovalev, who will be the best guy that he's ever faced. Do you expect him to maybe try and fight Kovalev, or, as we all expect, 99% sure, he's going to run, he's going to try and jab, maybe a little bit of holding? What tactics do you think he's going to bring to the arena?
I'd imagine as soon as he tastes Kovalev's power, he's going to be on the back foot and will probably go into survival mode. But I completely agree with Andy. If you're looking at this as a tune-up for Andre Ward, it's perfect. Because Chilemba is solid, and ultimately, what is a tune-up fight? It's to sharpen your tools before the big fight. And I think Chilemba fits the bill perfectly. He'll give you rounds. He's never been stopped, and he's very tricky. So I expect Kovalev to go rounds here. And on paper, yeah, Kovalev should win comfortably, but you look throughout history, the fight before the big one isn't always as straightforward as it seems. You look at Eric Morales against Zaire Rahim before he was supposed to fight Pacquiao for the second or third time. He got unseated by Rahim. Zab Judah fought his mandatory Carlos Baldemir before he was going in for that super fight with Mayweather. No one expected Baldemir to beat Judah. We all know what happened there. I mean, even you think to fights like De La Hoya Sturm. It was the tune-up for a fight with Hopkins, and most people thought De La Hoya lost that fight. It's not always straightforward. Even Kostya Tszyu fought Otke Urkel before he fought Zab Judah. That was a tune-up fight for Zab Judah, and Urkel gave Tszyu all the trouble in the world, and he wasn't expected to. So these fights, even though on paper they look straightforward, when it's the last hurdle before the big one, it can be a bit tricky. But
true.
Yeah. So because your mind, you're kind of, when you go into a fight, you should have tunnel vision. But in the fight before the big one, you can't help it. You have one eye on the big fight. And so I'm not saying Kovalev is overlooking Chilemba, but there's always that danger that you're looking ahead. And in boxing, whenever you look ahead, plans can go awry. But having said that, I'd expect Kovalev to win convincingly tomorrow night. Interesting as well, I see in some markets, Kovalev is 4-1 against to win on points because they're expecting a stoppage. But I think that could be worth a tenner, because Chilemba he's a spoiler, as Andy said. He's tricky, so he could go around. It's possible. So I expect a Kovalev victory, but he might not have things all his own way. It might be interesting. I'll be tuning in definitely anyway.
Am I right in saying, Dave Loback, off the top of my head, the only time Kovalev has been the 12-round distance, and I think he's gone the 6 or the 8, maybe early on in his career, is it against Hopkins, or am I gravely overlooking something here?
I think you're right about that, yeah. And as much as they're friends now, I mean, he was really trying to destroy Hopkins late on. I would say that certain styles do give him trouble. Cedric Agnew, a very untested and inexperienced guy for the time he fought Kovalev. He gave Kovalev some trouble. I don't think he won any rounds, but he wasn't like the destroyer. Actually, since Hopkins, Kovalev hasn't really destroyed. I guess he did he took Mohammadi out right away, didn't he? So yeah, I mean it's about levels. Pascal, I guess maybe he could have taken him out earlier and decided to just torture him for a while because he's a sadistic bastard, which we love about him. But yeah, I think that Chilemba has a pretty good chance of going the distance. I thought he beat Alvarez and I thought he beat Bellew the first time. Second time he didn't do enough, but yeah, so he could only have one loss, really.
Donny, Chilemba coming in as the opponent, is this pretty much like a good spar to try and get used to the Andre Ward fight? Obviously, Chilemba's not going to be replicating Ward stylistically, but are there some similarities there that will aid Kovalev in trying to work out the moves, trying to try a few things on Chilemba that he's expecting he will have to do against Ward?
To be honest with you, I think it's a very good fight. The thing is that I think the main events, Kovalev's promoter has so much confidence in Kovalev, and they know that I think pretty much anybody outside the top. Oh shit! Hang on. Anybody that they put him in with in the top 10, he's going to beat. So if they can put him into a fight as a tune-up, if they can put him in a fight that with a main events fighter, like Chilemba is a main events fighter, then they'll put him in that fight rather than put him in with some other promoter's fight. So I think they're just they have complete confidence that he'll do the business.
Sorry, Don, it sounded like we were disturbing you there or something, Tommy. The final word to you before we close on out on this crazy show on this Sunday evening. I'm not even going to ask you a leading question. Just tell us what you're looking forward to seeing with the Crusher.
I'll put it like this. The last time Sergey Kovalev fought in this arena, one guy didn't walk out the arena. That was obviously the fight where the guy got killed. So he's back in Russia. He's back. It's the first time he's fought there in a long time. We want to put on a show. What's that, mate?
Documentary, that, eh? That was a short one. Like, did you see that when you?
I've never seen it, mate.
Oh, sorry.
I've never seen it.
Is that Simakov?
I'll check it out. Simakov or something.
It's on the Yahoo page. We've got Life After Death, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm. But as I said, Sergey, obviously we want to put a show on in front of his own fans. I think this could be the first time that Isaac Chilemba has been stopped. I've picked Kovalev to stop him. Chilemba, he's not a guy that you'd hand pick, is he? I said to Kovalev a massive amount of credit for taking this guy. I know it's a style, they were looking for a style similar to Ward, but this isn't somebody that you would really hand pick, is he? He's got the ability to fiddle his way through a fight, make you look bad, and the 12 rounds are away before you know it. But I've got faith in Kovalev. I think he'll take him out maybe about 7-8 rounds.
I'm going to go with you on that one, Tommy. I think it might be a little bit later, maybe not around 9 or 10, but either way, I just can't see Chilemba standing up to the firepower, and I'm going for a Kovalev knockout victory. Unless there's anything else anybody wants
never been nice before.
Anybody want to add anything else in before we jack it in for the night, or should we hit the road?
I think we should get Brian and Seb back on for 20 minutes or something.
Well, I'm hitting the road, you can stay on. I'm sure there's people who are not happy, and my phone is sitting next to me just going bzzz.
Yeah, it's fucking mine's the same, mate. Fucking hell.
And I'm not looking at it, so if anybody's cross or if anybody's happy or whatever, I have not checked Facebook or Twitter since about halfway through the pod, so I'm going to have to go and deal with you all, or I might just turn it on airplane mode for the night. So that's why I'm not responding to you.
I'm signing off as well. This is my last week, as you know. I'm going to
Andy,
I'm away to Sweden. I'll be visiting those unisex saunas and stuff like that. Can't fucking wait.
What's been your favourite moment on the asylum, Andy? Now, mine personally has been the Ricky Hatton sex slave scandal. I can't even mention it without laughing. What's been your personal highlight?
Is this like my personal highlight, like involving me or someone else?
No, involving you. What have you enjoyed? What have you sitting LOL'd about?
Yeah, well, I actually love when people actually like remind me about the Cleverly Bellew rematch. And it was Kurt actually, last night we were reminiscing about it, and Kurt actually posted it up, and he says the best comment, because if you listen to it, I would actually go progressively worse drunk, as that show went on, whereas for Fury Klitschko I was absolutely fucking smashed. But for that Bellew Cleverly fight, apparently I'd said, they want a fucking third fight, they can go and soak a fart out my arse. So just things like that, just like if I made a funny comment and stuff like that, that's good for me, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's all about laughs, it's all about shits and giggles, a wee bit of serious boxing talk, and a wee bit of kind of like, bullshit and stuff, but, don't take it too serious, man. It's all love and good at the end of the day.
I'm actually going to be away out of the country in the Amazon rainforest for the next 2 weeks as well, so
you
you'll be missing the Yank flavor.
Matty D posting no, we'll better keep this kind of quiet.
I do hope that bug flies up your fucking Jap's eye, Dave.
What?
Ignore him, Dave. Shut up, Tommy. Andy, what's your Twitter handle if people want to continue to follow you, or in real life, can they follow you?
They can't follow me in real life because I take serious precautions. It's just a nature of habit where I come from. It's like fucking Fort Apache where I used to grow up. So, if they want to follow me or unfollow me, it's at AndyP792 on Twitter. I will be out of the country. I'm thinking about moving all together. It's been good stuff. It's going to be a very light panel next week, so make sure the boys come out and support us. We've been doing this for long enough now. We do what we do. We're here every week. Done it every week just about. I think the only time we ever take time off is when there's like a very, very quiet moment, or Christmas time, New Year. It's the only time we take time off. We're here every week. We're repping this shit, baby.
Couldn't put it better myself. Thanks, everybody. Don't forget to go and like the YouTube video and leave a comment below, negative or positive. We like the negative ones, actually. They're often funnier, but you can leave a positive one if you like. I'm going to knock it on the head now, and any further comments, I'm just going to ignore them because we want to go home and go to bed. I'd like to thank everyone who jumped on tonight. We've had good fun. It got a bit rowdy during the middle, but sure, that's what we do. That's the way it rolls. So thanks to Mr. Guru, Tommy Allen, Andy Patterson. Thanks to Dave Lee for jumping on as usual as well. Great stuff from Dave. Mr. Dave Lowe back from across the pond. Donny, Paul Webb was on with us as well. Seb was on with us. Brian King was on with us. Amir Khan was on with us. Amir Khan came on in the middle of a bit of a shitstorm, so sorry about that, Amir. Thanks for coming on. You came on at a pretty bad time. We'll get you on again in the future. And also thanks to Adam Smith and Kurt Ward for just being generally great. I've been your host, Steve Wellings, and we'll speak to you again soon. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.